Chapter 161. This is professionalism. The black team banned Elise. As I said earlier, the black team likes to play for the mid to late game and focus on macro. Banning Elise, who has very strong gank and tower dive potential at level 3, is a safe, stable choice. The white team's main aggression will come from top and jungle, while the king in mid is versatile, so the black team will concentrate more on the jungle than on lane matchups. Jace. White team's Jace in top is a huge threat. If the black team doesn't want to be pressured in top, they can't leave Jace open. The remaining bans are Gragas, Jarvan 4, and Lee Sin. Jiangming talked non-stop as the stream showed the ban phase. Sometimes he called the bans before they even appeared on screen. Old viewers were used to it, but many newcomers watching Jiangming's stream for the first time were astonished. Friends were pinged, word spread, and the viewer count shot up. Soon both sides completed their first 3 bans. Blue team bans: Orianna, Gragas, Rumble. Purple team bans: Elise, Jace, Lee Sin. Because there were only 3 bans each and limited controllable resources in the game, Jiang Ming didn't dwell on every detail. He explained to the viewers why certain champions were banned or left open, their pros and cons, and how teams should orient their strategy once champions were picked. The blue team first pick is Renekton. In Season 3, Renekton is essentially the top lane bully. He has no natural counters in many environments, so a first pick is safe. His early game pressure is massive. If trades go well, he and a jungler can dive at level 3. Royal Club Shen Chao, speak for me. I don't know how many times Rumble got dove back then. Ha ha ha, classic NXG Zoo comp. A lot of LPL teams suffered from that. Jiang Ming smiled at the chat and continued. Against the white team's Renekton, the black team should prioritize the bot duo with their first 2 picks. Once top is revealed, they're clearly aiming to secure that side, so the right side needs to ensure bottom lane dominance in return. Caitlyn and Zyra popped up immediately on the stream. Isn't Caitlyn nerfed? Who's making picks for NX? Let's hear JM. I noticed Caitlyn's ranked win rate dropped a lot lately. Caitlyn is fine, Jiang Ming replied, reading the chat. Caitlyn and Zyra are a classic push-and-shove duo. In the last patch, Caitlyn's turret-focused passive crit damage was nerfed, which slowed turret takedowns a bit. The attack speed change also affected her auto animation, making last hitting feel awkward. 2 attack speed runes usually make up for that. In pro play, players adapt quickly, so as long as their lane mechanics weren't touched, they're still playable. In truth, the key of the Caitlyn-Zyra lane is Zyra. Zyra's long-range poke combined with Caitlyn's fast wave clear gives the duo excellent lane control. With Caitlyn and Zyra, the white team's bot lane will struggle to survive. If the bot turret falls before Renekton secures his lead, the left side is in trouble. Playing for operations in the mid to late game isn't the same as mindlessly dragging the game out. That's just turtling. Why focus on surviving the lane? Can't Graves and Taric just fight them? Yeah, Caitlyn and Zyra are squishy. Graves and Taric should win fights easily. Graves and Taric? A chat member piped up before Jiang Ming could reply. Bro, you obviously missed class. Punishment, rewatch JM's Little Classroom episode 33. Have you considered that if you pick Renekton top and Graves plus Taric bot, both long lanes will want to fight and the blue team's jungler can't cover both? Exactly. Then the jungler can only help one lane. That's every jungler's nightmare. Then idiots blame you for not counter-ganking. I remember. Minge said resources in League are limited. Top, mid, and bot each require focus. You can't support them all. Top and bot are the farthest apart, least likely to be handled at the same time. Put simply, team's strong bot side won't get many resources top side and vice versa. That's why mid is so important. If a mid laner gets free early and coordinates with the jungler, they can create outsized impact. A few minutes of freedom can snowball across the map. A short while later, both teams locked in their compositions. NXG.U, top Renekton, jungle Olaf, mid LeBlanc, bot Ezreal plus Thresh. NXG.B, top Shen, jungle V, mid Ryze, bot Caitlyn plus Zyra. Just as many in the stream thought Jiang Ming was done, he dove into the core points again while runes and loading screens settled. Blue team's plan is straightforward. Renekton uses his level 2 and 3 power spikes to trade. If he gets a health advantage, he calls in Olaf for an early tower dive. Because Ezreal and Thresh are a defensive bot lane, the first dragon is likely conceded. Purple team needs Vi to pressure bot, let Caitlyn push fast, take towers, and snowball. With extra gold from turrets and dragon, the right side can come online faster. Economically, the right side will earn more early. However, LeBlanc and Renekton are excellent mid-game split pushers, 1-3-1. If Black only has Shen on that side, the blue top laner will be under severe pressure. In short, one team focuses the upper half of the map, the other the lower. The fight hinges on whether LeBlanc, Renekton, and Olaf can break top defenses, or whether Caitlyn and Zira secure early turret gold, or whether V can pull off counter ganks to disrupt White's snowball. V could also abandon top entirely to secure bot resources early. With her W passive, she can kite dragon aggro and take the first dragon relatively safely. Early game performance from both mids and junglers is crucial, so both teams will probably attempt to invade the enemy's bot side jungle at level 1. Okay, I get the words, but how does JM predict what happens 10 minutes? I used to think coaches mattered little, just bans and picks. Now I see, he considers all possible scenarios. If players execute, it becomes a stomp. What does kite dragon aggro mean? While the chat debated Jiangming's breakdown, the game finished loading. Ding, 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 the pings flew across Summoner's Rift. 10 champions bought their starting items, dashed to their lanes, and the speed of their execution impressed even the pros watching. They were all from the same club. Fundamentals were impeccable. Both sides have a lot of CC for a level 1 fight. If they clash, it's 50-50, Jiang Ming noted. But both chose different invasion directions. If they don't meet, they'll place a ward on the opponent's blue buff or wolves. On the game, Zhao Hao, White team's shot caller, decided to invade via bot, circling along the river toward the purple-blue side. Coincidentally, Xiao Duan and his bot duo on the black team invaded the top side after communicating. The mirrored movements left viewers delighted. They should be on our blue side. They've gone to top. Both teams guessed each other's position and missed each other. Are they going to lane swap? Mala Shangguo asked. He feared lane swaps. Early tempo is almost fixed, and he couldn't out-tempo Seeker. 50-50, Zhao Hao said. If Black swaps, our Renekton won't be as comfortable versus Shen, and my LeBlanc's roaming is affected, but Moon's Thresh could be freed up fast to help. We'll play standard lanes. Okay, no problem. Because they considered the swap possibility, Nexus's Renekton didn't start with a health potion or red pot. He chose Doran's Blade to be safe. Everyone, check Shen's starting items, Jiang Ming said, and Mozai flipped the OB camera. Black Top started cloth armor, a ward, and a health potion. He's mentally prepared to play very defensively. Shen's early wave clear and trading are weaker than Renekton's. That extra ward can scout Olaf early and help avoid a level 3 or 4 gank. If Shen avoids that first gank, that's a big tempo win for purple. Zhu Xiaolong's logic was simple. In lane, he wasn't as strong as Nexus. The minor sustain from a Doran's shield wouldn't remove the matchup pressure, so he opted for cloth armor, played ultra defensively, stayed under tower, and made diving him costly. Old Zheng, keep an eye on old Zhao's LeBlanc. Don't let him roam freely. Zhu Xiaolong told the mid laner, You. Got it. I'll start topside. Guang Guang, try to mess with Xuan Gao and his partner. Don't let them take the small Krugs and hit level 2. Got it. 80 Qinhuan used the ID luster, but had picked up the nickname Guang Guang in training, and it stuck. At 150 minions spawned. Game on. Both junglers chose different jungle paths. Olaf's Q, Undertow, is great AoE, so starting at a 4-camp route is efficient. Vi took W at level 1, so she's better at single target clears. Mala Shangguo and Seeker both knew their blue side camps were warded, so neither started on a ward-exposed camp. Jiang Ming continued, starting like this, Olaf faces a mana problem. Heavy use of Q drains his mana fast, so even if he hides his movement through the first 2 camps, Mala Shangguo will need to take blue before Olaf gets to his 3rd or 4th camp. Mana shortage is one issue. Delaying the first blue also postpones the second blue for the laner. Ryze builds tier and needs mana, but LeBlanc also uses a lot of mana early. If LeBlanc's first blue is delayed, it hurts her early presence. Offstream, Miller and Wawa exchanged helpless looks. How were they supposed to learn this? Jungle clears have nuances. Timing the second blue, accounting for whether Rise or LeBlanc will stack tier. These are complicated. Even LPL players would find it hard to explain. The chat, though, loved it. This is professional commentary, predicting future outcomes from current movements, not just wow and rehashing. Jiang Ming was right. After clearing his red, Olaf went straight toward his topside blue buff instead of Krug's. He avoided Krug's because Ma La Xiangguo had to watch for V finishing topside and diving at level 3. Renekton couldn't afford to fall behind early. When Olaf showed in topside vision, the Caitlyn-Zyra duo, which had been holding back, stepped forward to push and pressure Ezreal and Thresh, making poke easier. On the other side, Shen, because Seeker's jungle pathing was more conservative than Ma La Xiangguo's, took a slightly different route after clearing 3 topside camps. Instead of heading directly to Wolves, he circled down to blue. By faking strength, he even farmed 2 extra minions before Vi entered the blue area. As soon as Vi exposed herself near blue, Zhu Xiaolong backed off. In early jungle pathing, Vi edged out Olaf slightly, but Nexus reacted quickly. While playing safe, he still managed a fast damage combo on Shen. Both teams can live with that trade. And there's also a 14-year-old prodigy in mid. Want to guess how his setup looks? Chapter 162, Mercury instantly blocked the roundhouse kick, the black team's highlight moment. Oh my, he shouldn't have kicked her over. Seeker's perfectly timed counter gank helped the purple team's Caitlyn secure first blood. With that 400 gold, Caitlyn can afford a BF sword on her first recall. Hiss. Xiao Xiao mouthed an exaggerated expression. In ranked games, if we ran into Ma La Xiangguo, we'd never give him a kill that early. The guy's damage is insane. I even think Caitlyn pretended not to dodge Blind Monk's Q, baiting him like an allure so Ma La Xiangguo would fall for it, Bella added. Jiang Ming, calm as always, replied, "That was intentional. Did you notice? When Blind Monk first showed up bottom, Spider Queen had already recalled to buy items and was rushing back down. Seeker even bought boots first to cover movement speed. Spider Queen didn't lack early damage, so most players would prioritize Sorcerer's Shoes first." Jiang Ming went a level deeper. After losing sight of Blind Monk in the F4 ward, Purple Team had a good read on where he was. He started at red, went top, didn't clear F4, and especially since Weapon Master had already been forced to recall in top, Blind Monk wouldn't stick around up there. Too soon to recall in shop, so he's either clearing the Stone Golem bottom or ganking bot. Early red buff time is gold. Given Ma La Xiangguo's style, he wouldn't hang about farming. I get it now. This is why they call him the league's top brain, someone in the chat gushed. From jungle, clear order to lane health and even playstyle, he reads everything. Mom asked why I'm watching the game on my knees, another joked. Ma La Xiangguo must be so depressed. If the opponent had been anyone else, he'd get that kill, but Seeker counters him perfectly. Remember the semis? Ma La Xiangguo's Blind Monk almost ruined VG's whole plan. Mom, why is the enemy jungler always in my jungle? Someone else snarked. Looks like the black team will take today's finals again, another wrote. The barrage of commentary hadn't died down when good news came from white team's mid lane. Zhao Hao punished Orianna's early evasion of a Blind Monk gank. She'd missed 2 waves of experience and used WQ to finish a half-health minion, instantly hitting level 6 and casting Deathmark on Orianna. Mr. Yu stayed composed. When Zhao Hao committed, he used the quickness to create distance, pulled the ball back with E, killed minions to hit 6 himself, and placed the ball just outside the tower where he predicted Zed's shadow would land. Command, Shockwave, whoosh! Zed activated his second R to return before the shockwave landed, tossed out a bit of E damage on the way, and Orianna's health dropped dangerously low. The second stage of Deathmark detonated with Ignite. She was in critical condition. Adding 2 more auto attacks might have secured the kill. Zhao Hao shook his head. Not so fast. In the time it would take to commit 2 basic attacks, Orianna could use her ultimate to pull him under the tower, and she had barrier. Trading Ignite for the quickness and forcing Orianna back to recall was already a win. Mid-lane momentum reclaimed and a warning shot sent to the wounded Caitlyn. Black team didn't rush. They played steady, chipping away at towers in the early game. For the next few minutes, Caitlyn only pushed when she had vision. Up top, Zhang Hong's Weapon Master held steady. Though pressured by Renekton, he maintained his rhythm and stayed healthy. Mala Guo, bold as ever, found an opening at 7.5 minutes, landed a kick that helped take down the flashless Orianna under tower. White team fans breathed easier. Orianna was hard to kill, her laning was stable, and her ball play impeccable. No wonder the king had only recently moved from top to mid, talented but still refining details. White team's reputation for fearless clutch play made it fitting to see them step up when needed. Even though Orianna died mid, Spider Queen had already shoved bot, forced back Ezreal and Sona, and helped the purple team take the bottom inner turret first. The tempo kept swinging. After that inner turret fell, black team switched lanes, duo lane to mid, Orianna top, and the well-farmed Renekton to the bottom half of the map. White team was vexed. With the inner turret gone, duo surely shouldn't stay bot, that had been drilled in practice. How to respond to the lane swap? Send Zed top? No, he'd suppress Orianna, but Mr. Yu's steadiness would make a breakthrough hard, and overcommitting mid-top would leave the bot side exposed and hand Dragon Gold away. If Zed stayed bot and Weapon Master matched Orianna top, the assassin going bot into a strong Renekton would be self-sabotage. They chose the lesser evil. When black team pushed mid and rotated for Dragon, Sona and Blind Monk moved top and took black team's top turret. They weren't lacking aggression, but trapping Mr. Yu was impossible. He retreated decisively to the second turret with no greed. Your team has destroyed a turret. The enemy has slain the dragon. Announcements came thick and fast. The crowd's excitement rose. The macro game was a masterclass. Lane swaps, jungle reads, and small skirmish playmaking. Resource trade, the analysts exclaimed. They traded Dragon for turret gold against Renekton and Spider Queen's early strength. Black team's plan was to use Caitlyn to take turrets, then send top to the bot side to use Renekton's strong phase to secure Dragon Gold and compensate for Orianna's low farm. As minutes ticked, both teams' kill counts and gold leads fluctuated. Orianna's farm gradually recovered while Weapon Master raced to stay relevant. The turning point came at 13 minutes. Mala Xiangguo's Blind Monk invaded Purple's red buff to contest, but Orianna, playing safely, tossed her ball to check vision and caught him with QR. Spider Queen immediately switched form, flashed E, and the follow-up long-range shot finished Blind Monk off, another 300 gold gifted. With their jungler dead, blue side lost control of their buff side jungle, 2 control wards went down, and Caitlyn and Lulu moved top to take a turret. Meanwhile, using a top minion wave, Caitlyn's trap array started chipping the mid-inner turret. Zhang Hong's Weapon Master, taking advantage of Renekton's pressure mid, soloed the blue bot inner turret. By 15.5 minutes, Caitlyn had a BF sword and a static shiv. Ezreal struggled to clear waves, so contesting a second dragon became impossible. The gold gap widened to about 2,900. More than items, it was the vision and map pressure after losing 3 outer turrets that hurt blue team. With Lulu and Spider Queen maintaining vision denial, even a mobile Blind Monk had trouble placing wards, and squishy Sona was vulnerable. As 2 dragons and 3 turrets gold came in, Orianna, killed once earlier, caught up. The worst problem for white team was Renekton. Sunfire Cape, Brutalizer, and a Giant's Belt made him a terrifying frontline. Black team fans crowed, "Who said our top laner only plays tanks?" He can carry early. At 18 minutes, the purple team's Orianna finished Athene's and Sorcerer's shoes and was close to Rabadon's. Caitlyn had Infinity Edge, Static Shiv, and a pickaxe. Her build was taking shape. With Lulu shielding her, Zed's threat shrank even without Quicksilver Sash on Caitlyn. Weapon Master looked strong on items and level, split pushing constantly, but without a tank to peel, assassinating the ADC under 3 bodyguards was too hard. "Let's gamble for Baron," Zhang Hong told his team. Caitlyn's constant tower pressure left Zed and Weapon Master's split pushes looking ineffective. Caitlyn would lay traps and high ground could be threatened. At 23 minutes, purple team secured Baron pit vision. 40 seconds later, blue team walked into an ambush, but Death Announcement reacted quickly, dodging Orianna's hidden ball ultimate. Orianna's missed shockwave, combined with Zed and Weapon Master's double engage, led to a jungle skirmish that became a 2-for-3 in blue's favor. Still, purple's core carries were relatively fresh, while blue had burned the quickness and other key cooldowns. Caitlyn and Oriana's teamfight scaling remained a problem for Blue, whose mid-game timings were disrupted by continual tower pressure. At 25 minutes, Purple abandoned Baron and formed to siege high ground. Renekton, Sunfire, and Randuin's tanked front and used his ultimate. Death Announcement's face went dark as his Ezreal traded ineffective poke. At 26 minutes, Blind Monk pulled off a desperate insect kick onto Caitlyn on the high ground, an audacious play that had the crowd on its feet. But as everyone gasped, Caitlyn pressed Quicksilver Sash midair and flashed back toward her teammates. What? Did Quicksilver Sash cleanse Blind Monk's insect kick? Quicksilver Sash removed the suppressive status from Blind Monk's ultimate, letting Caitlyn use the quickness while still airborne, Jiang Ming explained after the director replayed it. He clarified the mechanics. QSS removes crowd control effects, including suppressions and stuns, but not the inevitable knock-up that follows. It gave Caitlyn the window to activate the quickness while she was still being displaced. The venue erupted in admiration. Both players had put on a show. Blind Monk aggressive, and Caitlyn impossibly cool. Blind Monk's desperate kick failed. White team's mid-high ground broke as Oriana, who had just completed Rabadon's, landed a massive shockwave in the Baron pit, and then caught 3 players, dealing devastating damage. Purple emerged from the fight up 3 for 5. Caitlyn survived just like in practice, and with super minions on the march, Caitlyn and Spider Queen pushed down the Blue Nexus at 32 minutes. TGA Finals BO5, NXG.B led 1. Just when Trolls tried to mock White Team, Game 2 flipped the script. After side swaps, the draft for the second match read Blue Team, Black, Top Rumble, Jungle Blind Monk, Mid Gragas, Bot Misfortune, and Annie. Purple Team White, Top Jace, Jungle Olaf, Mid Oriana, Bot Corki, and Nami. Chapter 163. 5th Game. The Blind Pick Battle Song begins. The war between the Black Team and the White Team had only just finished its first game, and the Esports forum was updating at an insane pace. New hot threads resurfaced every second, multiplying like bamboo shoots overnight. The TGA Grand Finals suddenly dominated every corner of the network. Real-time viewership on YY Platform and TGA Live climbed steadily. Outsiders who hadn't been following the scene were baffled. A secondary league match and this many people? Major LPL clubs tuned in as well. IG, OMG, Royal, PE, everyone watched the stream intently. Even the pros, used to high-level play, felt their hearts race at the furious tempo on screen and cheered at the players' miraculous plays. IG, holy, can you even play like that? So Lao Song wasn't joking when he said he couldn't beat those 10 freaks from Team 2. OMG, thank goodness they're not going to be in the LPL this summer. If they were, NXG might take 3 world slots. Royal. NXG's strategy of trading early champion advantages for economy and then 4 protect 1 late actually has legs. On stage, the ban pick phase was a battle of wits. Jiang Ming watched with keen interest. For the finals, the club had made a temporary rule. When both teams' tactical reserves seemed roughly equal, coaches wouldn't intervene in the ban pick. The coaches behind the players were just training staff faces, great for writing down dinner requests, but not for deciding picks. The level of play on both sides had reached a point where even the White Team's star coach couldn't have improved things much. Jiang Ming had a few ideas to break stalemates for either side, but he couldn't stand behind one team without being unfair to the other. The outcome would come down to the players. On paper, the White Team was actually stronger than the Black Team in this patch. They shouldn't have been outplayed by an early game composition. But the White Team's bot lane was relatively weak, their mid and top leads weren't decisive. And Mala Xiangguo's jungle playstyle was exactly the kind that Seeker liked to punish. Make one early mistake, and the Black Team could be thrown out of rhythm. Their support, Xiao Duan, was unusual. He prioritized laning and left macro tempo calls to his jungler and AD. In fights, he protected his carry extremely well. In the previous game, his Lulu had shut down Jiang Hong and Zhao Hao's engage attempts. So in the next ban pick, the White Team decisively banned Black Team's Caitlyn fast push system. They weren't going to be stubborn. "Ah no, I have to go blow up Han Jun." Mala Xiangguo had declared at the start of Game 2, an audacious claim that stunned everyone. Even more surprising, several teammates backed him. Agreed. We need to play on Han Jun. If we stick to routine, we can't break their Xuanwu formation. Weapon and Zed can't even kill Qing Guangguang's AD. Conventional play is bad for us. Death announcement, you hold bot, will pressure top, mid, and jungle early. Okay, done. Ma La Shangguo kept his word. After starting blue on the purple side, his Olaf cleared and immediately crossed the map to the top half, ignoring the red buff entirely. At level 2, he charged Zhu Xiaolong's rumble. Zhu Xiaolong was baffled. One moment trading with Jace's Flamespitter, the next an axe-wielding barbarian was in his face. The ward in top river showed the enemy had started bot side, so a blue start was expected, but no one told him an Olaf at level 2 with blue would come to gank. First blood. Without red, Undertow's slow still applied. Zhu Xiaolong hesitated a second too long, and then was chased down and killed by the white team's top and jungler under turret. With Rumble down and Jace ready, the Olaf who claimed the kill swaggered into Lee Sin's upper jungle. Han Jun cursed inwardly. Facing Ma La Shangguo's manic invasions, he didn't get drawn in. He knew that if he tangled with this human chewing gum in the enemy jungle, he'd lose any coherent plan afterward. Ma La Shangguo's style was simple. Invade, watch, and if he could get a kill or steal a monster, great. If not, he'd act like a human ward, disrupting your rhythm until you were on his level and he could out-experience you. Along, play safe for now, Han Jun told his top laner. He had already cleared the 3 wolves in his topside jungle. Lee Sin's remaining blue was mostly for levels. Losing it wouldn't be fatal. Commentators noticed the Lee Sin giving up his top jungle. They see the Lee Sin decisively ceding blue side top. After Rumble died, he avoided Olaf's aggression and cleared the 3 wolves before disappearing into fog of war. For a jungler, the worst thing isn't a failed gank. That's just a repeatable lesson. It's being exposed in the enemy's vision for a long time. A role built around surprise dies if you stand out in the open. Seizing the blue, Olaf didn't camp it for himself. He immediately handed it to Nexus's Jace. Han Jun had traded 3 wolves and some pressure for a single buff, not a profitable exchange. Worse, Olaf's level 2 gamble had given Jace first blood and blue. Han Jun felt his scalp prickle. Seeing Jace happily waving with the blue buff, Zhu Xiaolong joked to himself, "I'm doomed," and bought a Liandry's for his offline rumble in despair. One level 2 jungler handing blue to Jace? A monstrosity. But Ma La Shangguo didn't care. He loved this style. With practice and training, he'd learned to channel the chaos he created into teammates' leads. If he exploded, the enemy jungler would often explode too. But if he fattened one teammate indirectly, that was profit. Olaf, as an early game engine, was in the same bracket as champions like Pantheon. One extra blue didn't change his effectiveness that much, but it amplified a lane like Jace's already terrifying early pressure. With vision control, the white team pushed top and shifted mid-jungle attention upward. Han Jun and Yu tried to wrest the rhythm back. Gragas's E in mid hit Zhao Hao's Orianna, the plan being to ulti her back and combo with Lee Sin for a kill. The problem was S3 Gragas's E only slowed, no knockup in this match's interpretation. As Gragas began his ultimate, Orianna used her own quick escape. Zhao Hao survived. Top lane, however, was spiraling. Zhu Xiaolong, already forced to his second turret, was dove repeatedly by Ma La Shangguo and Jace. The level 1 snowball that started on top was getting out of control. Bot lane didn't go smoothly for the blue team either. Misfortune couldn't match Caitlyn's range in this matchup. And Death Announcement and Moon were in excellent form. Aside from one Orianna ultimate forced by Xiao Duan's Annie, the white bot lane gave the blue team nothing. It took until 11 minutes for the white team to knock down the inner bot turret. Top had fallen 2 minutes earlier to Jace's siege. True to their style, the white team focused around the dragon. With an explosive lead and Yu Mu's, Jace strolled bot to take dragon. Team fight? No. When Jace fired, carries lost at least a third of their health. The blue composition lacked a true frontliner, so Han Jun couldn't just force a head-on engage. He tried to steal the dragon, but his smite in the air was expected. Jace's E and Olaf's axe executed the objective and banked huge gold. The teamfights that followed were decisive. The white team's approach was different from the black team's steady economic grind. They were like wolves smelling blood, attacking weak points relentlessly until opponents died. Neither style was better on principle. Both could win. But in this game, Jason Olaf repeatedly targeted Rumble, killing him over and over. And Olaf in Ragnarok charging with Oriana's ball attached was a rolling nightmare. By mid-game, Hanjun did land a couple of great combos with his teammates. Lee Sin's insect kick sending Corki away, Annie ult followed by Misfortune's damage allowed two crucial wins. Yet Olaf's immunity to crowd control in his ultimate remained decisive. In the most critical Baron fight, when Annie's ultimate landed, Death Announcement and Zhao Hao reacted perfectly, avoided the stun and countered, wiping the black team. At 32 minutes, almost the same time as the previous game, the white team charged the blue team's high ground. "Ah, ace," commentators shouted. They only need to push the Nexus to win. And they did. Tie game, 1-1, then 2-2. Two teams utterly matched, with no clear favorite until the very end. The match had viewers on the edge of their seats. Riding that momentum, the white team came out swinging in Game 3 with their most practiced composition. Early game, Mala Xiangguo invaded again, disrupting Seeker. Top and mid both took solo kills. The third game ended in just 26 minutes. 2-1, the desk screamed. Xiao Xiao yelled. The white team has won 2 straight and now holds 2 match points. The black team's in desperation. No one expected Mala Xiangguo, who made frequent mistakes in Game 1, to perform so strongly in the following 2, Bella added. He's eaten up Seeker's rhythm with his teammates. Death Announcement and Moon survived bot pressure and didn't let Luster snowball, Xiao Xiao continued. Could the final score be 3-1 for the white team? But it didn't stay that way. 40 minutes later, both teams sat again on stage, bloodied but unbowed. The score was 2-2. Everything came down to the final game. The arena buzzed as the battle song played. Many players in the audience inhaled a little more sharply than usual because the league had announced the 5th and deciding game would be played in blind pick mode. Chapter 164, Nice to Meet You. Unbelievable. Truly unbelievable. Just when everyone thought the white team would ride their momentum to a 3-1 win, the black team pulled a sudden lane swap and lineup change and evened the series. Xiao Xiao was speaking from the heart. The 4 completely different victory styles shown in today's 4 matches between the black and white teams had rewritten his understanding of League of Legends. Not just his, anyone who'd watched the TGA Grand Finals felt it. The game had been unrecognizable, dazzling tactical plays, flawless lane swaps and tower pushes, terrifying lane dominance, and junglers clashing with the hunger of gamblers. Blink, and you'd miss 10 brilliant moments. Blitzcrank as AD, Jace top, risk everything jungling. In 2 short hours, the trends birthed on stage had already spread outward, sweeping the scene. Yes, it's incredible that when they were on the back foot, the black team decisively swapped lanes, turned defense into offense, and slammed the brakes on the white team's relentless pressure, Bella said, cheeks flushed with excitement. Of the 3 commentators, perhaps only Zhang Ming, who knew the 10 players' strengths intimately, managed to keep his composure. Well, composed was relative. He was just as excited as the rest. Any player who loved esports would be stirred by the 4 electrifying matches that had just happened. Quiet, quiet, I need silence, someone joked over the crowd noise. Chat was a riot. Who needs a dull match? Brothers, I can't hold it in. Gotta go. Hurry back. Don't miss the last game. These teams are neck and neck. Neither can claim dominance. Can that gamble-style jungling stay legal? After Game 3, I thought white had it. Their snowballing was terrifying. Who guessed black would flip the table with a lane swap? During the break before the final match, Zhang Ming summarized the lane swap from the previous game. For Game 4, the black team's entire unit won as one, he said. White's strength is in the top, mid, and jungle forming an early game trident. The problem is their ADC champion doesn't reliably translate a bottom lane lead into a mid-game impact. S3 is an assassin-heavy snowballing patch. Control the early game and you control most victories. There's no catch-up mechanic. Once momentum is lost, it's hard to climb back. One reason white struggled to break black earlier was their jungler, Jiang Ming continued. Seeker is excellent at studying opponents. Many of Mala Xiangguo's early patterns were analyzed to death, forcing him quiet and lowering the early pressure from white's top, mid, and jungle. But Mala Xiangguo showed evolution today, 2 consecutive dominant wins, prove he's stepping forward in aggression. The black team's swap was born of necessity, to quickly funnel gold to their AD and suppress Nexus's terrifying individual skill while using a mobile support to lock down early vision and limit Ma Xiangguo's style of exploding with his own jungler. A director's cue came through the commentators' earpieces. Players were ready. Jiang Ming smiled into the mic and clarified the deciding rule. For this BO5, the final game's selection would be played in blind pick. Blind pick meant simultaneous champion selection with no visibility into the opponent's choices. Mirror picks were allowed. Normally, blind pick is the matchmaking mode and not used in professional play because ranked and pro matches rely on bans for balance, but TGA had instituted it for spectacle. The crowd loved the idea. Mirror matches, no excuses, no counterpicks, just raw outplay. If the finals tried this, Jiang Ming mused aloud, maybe the national server would follow. The stage split to show the players close up. On the white team's bench, Jiang Hong reclined, eyes closed, unusually relaxed for a deciding game. Ma Xiangguo and the bottom duo looked serious. Two of White's losses had stemmed from jungle mistakes and laning phase errors from bottom. In the center sat Zhao Hao, sipping goji berry tea from his thermos, studying the band pick interface with calm interest. He leaned back, a faint smile on his lips, more like a retired official reading a paper than a pro in a grand final. Relaxed because the opponent showed their hand first? One teammate teased. Heh, old Zhao, you look exactly like the retired official upstairs. Same thermos even, another said. Shut up, Zhao Hao replied with a smirk. On the black team's comms, energy ran high. Qin Huan, the AD, was a people person who fed off hype. The more intense the moment, the better he performed. Last game depends on the top and mid, he told his teammates. Old Jiang and old Zhao are flooring it. Early pressure will be huge. As support, Xiao Duan centered his breath to calm himself when Qin Huan looked his way. They shared a smile. The previous game had revealed their lane swap strategy, so White would be on high alert, but Qin Huan was untroubled. My teammates will protect me, he said. Charge! Charge, he shouted, raising both hands. Friendship power, I've got it. On the stage, champion portraits popped into the pick boxes like fireworks. The two top lane champions were locked in simultaneously, Hecarim, the Shadow of War, and Riven, the Exile. The crowd roared. Blind Pick's most thrilling moments had arrived. And here we go, Xiao Xiao shouted. Top Riven versus top Hecarim. Next, the junglers locked in the same champion at once. Lee Sin, the blind monk. The venue exploded. After Insect's famous kick and Mingkai's R-Flash, Lee Sin had cemented the jungler spotlight. For both junglers to blind lock Lee Sin in the final game of a grand final was electric. Then came mid. One side picked LeBlanc, the other picked Lulu. Why Lulu mid? A commentator blurted at first. Then a smile. The black team's mid had been known for an unusual mid Lulu in the original timeline, Yugus's secret weapon. While everyone remembered his nickname, his Lulu was the real ace. His career stats with Lulu were ridiculous, dominant win rates and an ability to control a lane in ways supports normally couldn't. In meta arcs where supports bled into solo roles top Soraka, mid Karma, designers later slammed nerfs under the pretense of supports should be supports, but for a time, those picks shone. Jiang Ming also explained a practical tweak for the blind pick final. To help commentary and viewing, the pick order had been set from top to support, though the selections were still blind. The crowd reacted to the mirrored mid and jungle picks like a collective gasp and cheer, already tasting the mirror match fireworks to come. The stage was set. Mirror champions, lane swap history, and a final game played with no excuses. The stadium hummed with anticipation, every fan waiting to see who would truly be nice to meet you in the final act. Chapter 165, what an eye-catching lineup. After the third pick locked in mid, the draft moved into the duo lane phase. Both bottom lane players would lock champions at the same time. The fifth pick, the support slot, held no suspense. Xiao Duan and Moon almost simultaneously locked in the figure wrapped in ghostly green chains. What delightful torments shall we inflict? The voice boomed. The chain warden, Thresh. As his model lit up in the selection box, his iconic deep voice echoed through the arena. Oh, both supports grabbed Thresh, Bella the caster said, a little breathless. Now only the final AD carry remains. The immersive moment sent a ripple of excitement through the crowd. Blue team's fourth pick immediately followed, the yellow-haired explorer. Death announcement locks Ezreal. No problem, the other caster replied. That Iceborne Gauntlet into Blade of the Ruined King build lets white team's bot lane get fighting power early. With Thresh's CC, their mid-game teamfight tolerance is very high. Only the black team's AD remained. Dozens of eyes turned toward the blue team's player seats on the right. Over the last 4 games, the black team's AD had dazzled with fundamentals, laning, kiting, teamfight damage, and many began to call Luster the successor to Wei Xiao. Now, in this decisive moment, what would Luster pick? Caitlyn, Vayne, Ezreal, champions who had shined in his hands flashed through people's minds. Then a pick nobody expected appeared. Welcome to the League of Draven, the glorious executioner. Draven. Chat exploded. Draven? No way. Draven with Thresh. This bot lane pressure is off the charts. Isn't that too aggressive? The black team is better at mid-late game macro. Operation? If you can't hold your own early against the white team, you can forget the late game. Blind pick makes everything spicy. If this were a full draft, would you even see a pick like this? You picking Lulu mid suddenly makes sense. Mid and support both covering the AD. Let's see who chickens out in this Bow 5. Winner takes all. Bullet comments flew as the final lineups locked in. Blue team NXG B, top Hecarim, jungle Lee Sin, mid Lulu, bot Draven Thresh. Purple team NXG Du, top Riven, jungle Lee Sin, mid LeBlanc, bot Ezreal, plus Thresh. Alright, both teams' blind pick lineups for Game 5 are confirmed, Jiang Ming announced, his voice filling the arena. He walked through the drafts. Most of these picks fit the S3 meta. S3 was a fast-paced version of the game. Once a snowball rolled in the early to mid-game, the result was often decided. In a deciding match, no one was willing to pin their hopes on vague late-game plans. If you had no foothold early, there'd be no late game to speak of. Blue team's bot lane needs no explanation. Draven plus Thresh is a lane bully. Very few pairings directly contest that pressure. Use Lulu mid is clever. Her W and R can protect Draven's output in fights, and since she's in mid, she'll get gold and levels quicker than a support Lulu would. On top of that, Hecarim and Lee Sin both have game-changing ultimates, great for engages or peel. Hecarim's onslaught can split the battlefield. He moved to the white team. White team's picks show their intention. Both sides like to play early, but black team will temper aggression after an initial move. White team, they pursue pure offense. Indeed, extreme offense was no overstatement. Mid-jungle LeBlanc and Lee Sin is a terrifying early burst duo. Riven top can press Hecarim, and Ezreal plus Thresh is a strong teamfight lane. All 5 white champions could dive, no plan for dragging the game to late stages if things went wrong. Of course, both teams have drawbacks. It comes down to execution. One side had low fault tolerance. Draven was their late-game carry, but he needed to snowball. The other lacked a true frontline and would rely on item spikes to match Draven, making early skirmishes critical. Jiang Ming checked his watch and wrapped up as the cosplayers of the 2 coaches left the stage. The director cut to the crowd. NXG go, NXG go, NX go. The game finished loading, and Summoner's Rift filled the big screen. The match began. Hold defensive positions. Level 1, go, go. Heroes spawned in the fountain and voice comms carried different orders. The white team avoided a level 1 clash. The black team grouped to invade. Jiang Ming explained as viewers watched the team's contrasting movements. Level 1 power is actually similar. Hecarim's fully stacked Q at level 1 and Ezreal's full passive both contribute. Blue team wants to get a kill for Draven early. With his passive, First Blood and a snowball is huge. At minimum, they want to invade and place early wards to track the purple jungler. From the white team's perspective, engaging risked giving Draven the gold he needed. They placed 2 wards in their jungle to scout, and the top laner and jungler swapped to ward the blue team's upper jungle and check routes. That would restrain Mala Shanguo's typically aggressive early style. After wandering blue's jungle, dropping wards around the 3 wolves and blue buff wall, and ensuring they wouldn't be lane swapped, the black team left. Minions spawned, and everyone took their lanes. A wave of relief swept the stream. No level 1 blood meant the game's suspense stayed intact. The director cut first to top. Hecarim had Q at level 1, stacking rampage on minions. Jiang Hong, with 3 passive stacks, stepped out of brush, blade raised. Hecarim mustn't be allowed to stack Q uninterrupted. If he hit level 2 with W up, it'd be hard to lane against him. Zhu Xiaolong tried to prevent the stack. Q auto on a minion, saw 3 stacks, and backed off. A full early all-in wasn't feasible. Even with Ghost and Ignite, before his Q stacked, against Riven with a red potion it was risky. Riven didn't chase deep either. She needed trades timed with cooldowns. When facing champs whose kits have long churns of damage or high auto-attack damage that punish her cooldowns, like Hecarim's QW and E, Riven must play carefully. Both top laners measured each other. Level 1 skirmishes, farm, kiting. One slip could mean a free kill. Mid was quieter. LeBlanc versus Lulu demanded patience early. Zhao Hao, even with top mechanics, couldn't blithely step up to clear and harass. A stray glitter lance or a well-timed polymorph would be costly. Lulu mid wasn't about pressure, it was about denying LeBlanc's kill windows and neutering mid-jungle synergy. Mechanically, Zhonghong and Zhao Hao were stronger than their counterparts, but the lane required discipline. For the first levels, both mid laners farmed uneventfully. Bot was another story. Qin Huan arrived with 2 axes and aggression. He launched one at Ezreal the moment they met. Death Announcement stayed calm and sidestepped Xiao Duan's probing death sentence. He'd been pressured by Qin Guangguang's style before. If he didn't die and tower stayed intact, his anti-pressure goal was met. "Pressure me then," he seemed to say. "One side's ahead in top, the other in bot. Mid is even," the casters observed. "Looks like the junglers will have to break the stalemate." Top, mid and bot made probing plays and backed off. At 2.5 minutes, with Hecarim's Q stacked, he committed to a true 1v1. Jiang Hong's kiting was precise. 2 Qs, pull back, W to stun. 3rd Q knocked up Zhu Xiaolong to interrupt an auto, worth a slight edge. But Hecarim had W sustain, so without an all-in either could accept the trade. Mid at level 2, Zhao Hao baited Lulu. He learned E instead of Q, lured out an auto, dashed with distortion into the minion wave, and chained E, then narrowly dodged a glitter lance while polymorphed, small advantage to LeBlanc. At 7 minutes, both junglers converged on bot. Intentions were the same. Draven had been stacking his passive forever and needed to cash in. The purple team had to find a way to shut Draven down before he could turn a teamfight into a gold avalanche. "They might be here," Moon warned. "If we get counter-ganked, we explode," Hanjun said. "But we have to fight. Wait too long, and with Lulu's R in the dragon fights, killing Draven becomes even harder." Mala Shanguo hugged the wall, cautious. With Thresh and Lulu present, diving Draven wasn't as simple as it looked. If Black cashed him in during a teamfight, the gold swing would make the blue team's lack of a front line even more dangerous. "I can make it first," Zhao Hao said, calming his duo. "They're coming." A minion wave collided in mid lane. Both Lee Sins waited to see who would break. Both ADCs positioned carefully. A white flash burst from the brush, striking Qin Huan's Draven. Mala Shanguo didn't hesitate. His second Q connected with a kick. "Xiao Duan," Qin Huan shouted. Xiao Duan's Thresh immediately used the quickness to cut between his AD and the flying jungler. Whoosh, flay. Mala Shanguo was knocked forward in midair. Qin Huan's eyes flashed. Blood Rush activated. Attack speed and movement speed surged, and both axes swung in perfect rhythm. Swoosh, swoosh, axes cut into the jungler. But just as Xiao Duan moved to follow up, Moon's Thresh predicted the play and landed a death sentence on the support himself. He didn't bother hooking Draven. Thresh with Thember. The quickness up is dangerous, and wasting a hook would be foolish. Controlling the support and peeling the AD was just as effective. Death Announcement cast W forward, offering attack speed buffs from a tricky angle. "Witness true skill," he called. A mystic shot sped out, nicking Draven and shaving off health. Mala Shanguo landed a double E for a slow, then used the quickness to disengage. Right then, Hanjun's Lee Sin emerged from the shadows, followed closely by Lulu and LeBlanc, the mid laners arriving for a fight. Chapter 166, The Dragon Wags Its Tail. First Blood. Draven followed up with the quickness, killing the blind monk and securing first blood. He managed to get out. But Luster's the quickness also pulled him into a very dangerous spot. LeBlanc is here. The king arrived at the battlefield unbelievably fast, using QE and Ignite with his teammates to finish off Luster. The white team didn't want Draven to keep withdrawing, but the opponent had already achieved their goal. Zhao Hao didn't give Qin Huan's Draven any more chances to chop. For safety, he added Ignite after 2 abilities to stop Lulu from saving him. More importantly, they needed to widen the lead, and even trade would feel like a huge loss for the purple team. The second death was Xiao Duan's Thresh. To stop Draven, he'd used the quickness, and Moon's precise follow-up crowd control kept Draven locked down, letting EZ beat on him for a long time. NXGB Luster killed NXGW MLXG. NXGW the King killed NXGB Luster. NXGW the King killed NXGB Duan. Double kill. Afterward, Han Jun, who had ward-hopped in, fared much better than Ma Shangguo had earlier. His QE forced the white team duo to waste the quickness, which looked impressive at first glance. "Useless," shouted a caster. The white team duo made a rational play. Lulu was right behind them, so they used the quickness decisively to disengage. 2 kills for 1. Economically, the gold Draven gained from First Blood was not much less than LeBlanc's 2 kills, but both kills went to LeBlanc. Bad news for the purple team, which relied on Draven's mid-game damage. Worse was yet to come. While the bottom lane erupted, the top lane flared up too. An engage from Riven. At 8 minutes, Zhang Hong, having subtly banked 3 passive stacks by kiting in and out of bushes, used ERQ to dash onto Hecarim. "I have wandered for so long." Ignite burned. He followed with a lightning-fast 2-stage QA and key burst, locking Hecarim in place. Because the fight was very close to the blue team's turret, Zhu Xiaolong didn't back away. He pressed R to Onslaught of Shadows, trying to counterattack under his tower. Zhang Hong's prediction paid off. As Hecarim tried to escape with the quickness, Riven cut through, appearing directly behind him. Terrify? Missed! Seeing his ultimate fail, Zhu Xiaolong cursed and activated Ghost and E to flee away from the turret. "Brute force," a voice shouted. A giant runic sword crashed down. Hecarim's E and Ghost hadn't given him enough ground. He was knocked up. "I'm done for." Zhu Xiaolong smiled bitterly. Hecarim's ultimate dash range can be chosen by the player. He'd attempted to Terrify while combining damage with turret shots, casting it at the shortest range. When his ultimate was dodged by the quickness, it instead buried him. He'd effectively jumped into the enemy's trap. After the knockup came an auto-attack, then Riven's roar split the rift. "Ha! Wind Slash!" A fan-shaped green energy chased the Shadow of War and struck him. NXGW Nexus killed NXGB Long. Solo kill. No one expected that 2 evenly matched sides would suddenly see the white team jump to a 3-1 lead. Top and mid advantages were established. Could a 1-for-1 Draven turn the tide? Putting that aside, the white team's next move stunned everyone. Riven, having solo killed top, didn't return to lane to bully Hecarim. Instead, she dove into the jungle and started clearing camps with the jungler, Blind Monk. Easy and Thresh, who should have been in bottom to face Draven, swung up to top lane. "What? What the heck? Can you even play like this?" The jungler literally stopped farming after hitting 6, gave camps to the top laner, and swapped the bot duo to top lane. "Screw the bottom lane. Draven, you push." They swapped mid-game. The logic was simple. Better to swap lanes and exchange turrets than let the duo lane suffer a bloodbath. Riven, who'd secured kills, would outscale Hecarim. After the Blind Monk hit 6, a minute's delay to 7 didn't matter much. Letting Riven take extra jungle camps to make up her economy was fine. Hecarim's position mirrored this. Facing Thresh's crowd control with his ultimate and Ghost on cooldown, Long couldn't safely farm minions. After Riven and the Blind Monk patrolled top, Hecarim wouldn't even stay under his turret. Commentators Xiao Xiao and Bella erupted. Mala Xiangguo's hunger strike, jungling, giving up first blood and then swapping the top and bottom, shocked the entire esports scene. At 9 minutes and 7 seconds, with grim faces on the black team, the white team's top outer turret and the purple team's bottom outer turret fell in quick succession. The black team had no effective way to stop the top and jungle pressure. LeBlanc's lead over Lulu in mid heavily restricted the black team's rotations. Qin Huan, thinking about Long's Hecarim scaling, couldn't push toward the black team's second turret. If Hecarim fell behind, he'd enter the mid-game with neither damage nor tankiness. The only silver lining, they secured the first dragon. But even that wasn't good news. Choosing the strong bottom duo of Draven and Thresh, they should have dominated lane and then helped their jungler take the dragon. Instead, they were just securing a resource that should have belonged to them. At 12 minutes, the black team found a counter chance. In mid, Zhao Hao's LeBlanc tried to exploit a rotation gap to poke Lulu by double dashing from the river brush with W plus R. But Hanjun counterganked, his insect kicked LeBlanc back, and Zhu Xiaolong's Hecarim predicted the landing spot. Hecarim's ultimate terrified LeBlanc, and Lulu's the quickness followed by Polymorph formed a perfect combo. Qinhuan's Draven launched his ultimate while opening 3 axes and chopped LeBlanc to pieces. Under focus fire, LeBlanc died instantly. Zhao Hao's rhythm was disrupted. Hecarim pocketed the 300 gold. However, although LeBlanc died in the river, the black team had burned a lot of cooldowns and failed to push the minion wave to threaten the mid-outer turret. Both sides lost an outer turret in top and bottom. During the frequent rotations, Hecarim's mobility was extremely valuable. Facing the white team's offense, the black team began to look stabilized. It feels like a slow death. Zhang Ming shook his head. Stretching this out favors the white team. Hecarim's development is mediocre. He can't realistically dive and kill EZ in a team fight. In the mid to late game, the black team's damage relies too heavily on Draven. Riven and LeBlanc are better developed. If Lulu messes up, their AD will have to return to base. The white team knows the black team wants to group and push, using Draven's advantage to gain more gold. A caster added, "Not fighting them is the smartest play, especially since neither Lulu nor Hecarim can deal with the white team's split push. A 4-1 is the simplest way to win." "No problem. Keep extending. Time is on our side. Once EZ completes Iceborne Gauntlet, our teamfights will be easier," Zhang Hong said, breathing long. His risky decision to give top to avoid Draven's pressure had paid off, because his jungler was Mala Xiangguo. Qin and the others will probably try to group and push, Zhao Hao, now revived, said without regret. Mistakes happen in pro play. What matters is correcting them and seizing opportunities. The white team wasn't launching another immediate assault, at least not until the Blind Monk and Hecarim's ultimates were off cooldown. Riven and LeBlanc on the right didn't rely as heavily on ultimates. Moon swept vision around the dragon pit thoroughly. Without Oracle's elixir, they couldn't clear every nook, but they covered key spots. In voice chat, the black team rapidly traded information. "Long's farming at the second turret. Watch for LeBlanc and Riven coming from our red buff side," Han Jun warned, forehead slick with sweat from the concentration. "EZ's second item will be ready in about 2 minutes, including recall time. We need to make a play." "Old Zheng should build Rabadons as his second item. We need more damage," another voice urged. Qinhuan's Draven had a bloodthirster and was working toward Infinity Edge, but the white team had multiple damage sources, and their mid-game avoidance strategy neutralized a lot of Draven's earlier momentum. If teamfights didn't happen, the bottom lane advantage would erode, and Riven and LeBlanc could punish overextensions. Lulu, who still needed to farm mid-waves, couldn't babysit the AD all the time. Hecarim is farming in front of the bottom lane's second turret, and Riven can't overextend. His growth has taken a hit. "The black team has stabilized things," Xiao Xiao observed. "The good news is Xuanao will finish his second item soon. Then EZ with Muramana and Iceborne Gauntlet won't be far behind Draven power-wise." 3 minutes passed in a stalemate. Neither the white team's top mid-jungle trio could find solo picks, nor did the black team's grouped push gain meaningful gold. With both junglers as Blind Monk, limited vision from lanes and jungle couldn't totally lock down the other team's playmakers. At 16 minutes, Han ward-hopped along the dragon pit wall to catch vision and jumped toward Riven, who was pushing and trying to fall back. Killing intent flared, a flash of golden light. Blind Monk, who had been ward-hopping midair a second before, suddenly closed behind Riven. Jiang Hong's stomach dropped. In the next instant, Great Force pulled at his champion and sent her flying. In his vision, he saw an unbridled Hecarim charging. Thump, thump, thump. "I have wandered for so long." Jiang Hong popped Riven's ultimate the instant the Blind Monk's R landed. With Hecarim's ghost plus the Blind Monk, their chase potential was top tier. Running would only increase the speed of death. Hecarim kicked Riven in the face, QA followed, and the damage from his maxed Q was brutal. As the two top laners clashed, Hanjun didn't immediately rush in. Riven's damage had wide AoE elements, and entering too soon would let her shine. He timed his move from extreme range and cast E. Boom! But Riven predicted it. She turned, EQing Hecarim and dodging the blind monk's crucial E. The bone shatter slow wasn't the main issue. Being left unable to act afterward would be devastating. At the announcer's desk, Bella's voice sped up. Riven dodged the blind monk's E with 2 dashes. It might take them more time to deal with this Riven. On the other side, knowing we caught their top laner, the white team counterattacked. Wow, Easy's ultimate pulled jungle monster aggro, and the ancient Krugs are attacking black team members in the jungle. Mala Shango cued the big wolf and ward hop to get close to Draven. Lulu is on the other side, but her range isn't enough for polymorph right away. Iku, inside Summoner's Rift, the blind monk's fierce shout echoed. Mala Shanguo kicked Draven back. Chapter 167, Champions and Buyer Ideas. Blind monk's kick didn't have the cleanest angle, and Qin Huan adjusted his positioning the instant it connected. Even so, Draven was still sent flying straight into LeBlanc. LeBlanc's full combo hit with perfect timing, and Ignite amplified the damage. The kill announcements chimed almost at once. NXGW, the king has slain NXGB Luster. NXGB Long has slain NXGD Nexus. The casters' voices rose in alarm. Something's happened. Mala Shango's kick shoved Draven right into LeBlanc, and LeBlanc's combo blew him up. The purple team broke the stalemate by making that 3-wolf play. Down in the bottom lane, Blind Monk and Hecarim did manage to take Riven with them, but both were left at slivers of health, and with Draven dead, the black team's damage potential vanished. White team swarmed like a tide, refusing to give them a breather. Moon committed the quickness followed by E to lock targets, while Xiao Duan on Thresh stayed back to cover Yu's Lulu and was caught anyway. A perfect 1-for-2 bait. White team sacrificed their top laner and turned it into a decisive win. It wasn't just the extra kills. The black team's top and jungle were low on health, their bot lane was down, and the dragon was free for the taking. Draven's passive stacks, accumulated for nearly 10 minutes, were reset to 0, wiping his last hope of securing an item lead through kills in the next fights. It looked like the game was slipping away. Still, the black team didn't fold. With Lulu and Thresh protecting their carries, they soaked wave after wave of attacks and showed remarkable resilience. Qin Huan on Draven kited like a virtuoso, each auto-precise and evasive, slipping out of danger and denying white team the clean engages they wanted. A bad composition can be a slow death, but for the viewers, as long as it was exciting, that was enough. At 35 minutes, the match reached its Baron point. Purple team's Riven split pushed up the high ground, while blue team gathered and dove toward the Baron pit to force a fight. Zhu Xiaolong wanted to return to the main engagement, but was held up by Riven. Inside the pit, Zhao Hao's LeBlanc flashed over the wall, chaining 2 distortions with Ignite to collapse on Xiao Duan's Thresh, but Thresh managed a last-second hook that stopped Mala Shanguo in his tracks. Yu immediately used his ultimate on Draven, knocking up Blind Monk a second time. Qin Huan popped Blood Rush and axes began to fly like a circus act overhead. Because of his early gold deficit, Mala Shanguo's Blind Monk was underleveled and could only land 1 kick before dying to Draven's critical. Han Jun tried to flank, but EZ, with Iceborne Gauntlet, Muramana, and Blade of the Ruined King, had unmatched kiting, and Thresh kept covering him, so Han's approach never posed the decisive threat. At this point, both teams had stopped caring about Baron. The game would be decided by who lost this clash. Whoever fell would lose everything. Riven and Hecarim are both collapsing. What's the call? The caster asked. The top laners chose differently. Zhu Xiaolong stayed cool, holding his ultimate so its Terrify could protect Draven. White team's top and mid, on the other hand, dove in without hesitation, but their eyes weren't on Draven. Riven's third Q dropped down from the jungle and stunned Seeker. LeBlanc had her second combo ready and burst down Blind Monk. White team focused and eliminated the jungler in an instant. Both junglers were dead, and with a support already missing too, Qin Huan knew there was no point in stalling. He stepped forward to fight and try to turn the tide. At that split second, an ice-blue projectile clipped Draven and slowed him, an opening Zhang Hong seized. He flashed into the fray and landed a Soul Shackles that stunned both of Black Team's carries. "Nice!" Zhao Hao shouted, sending LeBlanc forward for follow-up. At the desk, Jiang Ming exhaled through the mic, a helpless note in his voice. It's over. Draven's burst right before death did trade down for LeBlanc, but Riven and EZ survived. Mid-lane super minions spilled into the base like a flood, and they were enough to crush the last line of defense. EZ and Riven's auto attacks hit the Nexus, taking away its last health before the blue team's heroes could respawn, the caster reported. Congratulations to NXG.W. 3-2. White team had beaten Black team and claimed the championship of the 5th TGA City League of Legends. The 5 on White team threw down their headsets almost in unison, adrenaline roaring. They leapt from their chairs and cheered, hands stabbing for the rafters. The stream chat exploded in celebration. White team nailed it. Riven's flash stun at the end. So sick. That was close. Luster almost carried. Either team could have won. It was that tight. The camera panned to the Black team's area, and the contrast was sharp. Qinhuan, the AD, lowered his head slowly, knuckles pressed to his temples. Xiao Duan stood and patted his teammate's shoulder. The other 3 masked it with half smiles, but disappointment showed in their eyes. Bella at the desk gave them a gentle nod. Let's also give a round of applause to NXG.B, who fought through 5 incredible games. Both teams delivered a spectacular series. The White team savored their victory for a moment, then, hearing Bella mention their opponents, snapped back to reality. Time for fist bumps. Death announcement, one of White team's players called out first. He ribbed his teammates. Old Zhang, you were rough on Guang Guang. Better comfort him tonight. Mala Shangguo laughed. Comfort? What, you mean lifelong brothers now? Brothers. Group hug, someone yelled. The locker room banter spiraled into jokes and mock insults. I'll teach you how to play blind monk. Mala Shangguo taunted Jiang Hong, who deadpanned. I'll give you one chance. Forget it, or I'll help you forget it. Mala Shangguo instantly pretended to cower. The men laughed as the White team walked over to the Black team's side. Cameras caught the moment as the 2 groups reunited on stage. Any earlier gloom was gone. The players rose with smiles and open arms. They shook hands, some hugging tightly. Qinhuan yelped, feigning pain as Jiang Hong's congratulatory pat felt like a battering ram. The last trace of the final sting faded from his face. Heh, champion junglers here. Old Han, say G to me. I'll teach you blind monk. Mala Shangguo joked, looping an arm around Qinhuan. Han Jun rolled his eyes. Zhao Hao ribbed him back, with talk of benched seats and blue buffs. The players traded teasing, and laughter spread through both benches. On stage, under the spotlight, the White team held the trophy. The Black team stood shoulder to shoulder behind them, watching. Jiang Ming, owner of both squads, looked on and felt something warm. He stepped to the mic. What moves me most in esports is not perfection, but the courage to accept defeat, he said. Watching them smile and embrace each other, this BO5 has already transcended winning and losing. It's become the spirit we all chase. Both teams mattered to him. He was happy for the winners, but his heart went out to the runners-up too. Esports, as ever, was cruel. Only one could claim the ultimate prize while the other's silhouette faded among the cheers. The TGA Grand Finals closed with White team hoisting the trophy, and the 5-game thriller took the esports community by storm. Viewers who watched live were still buzzing, and those who missed it devoured highlight reels. High Elo solo queue stars and pro teams immediately downloaded the replay packs to study every frame. The quality of play in the finals felt like it had leaped beyond the current pro standard. 10 players, 5 games, dozens of standout moments. Laning mind games, surgical macro plays, instantaneous teamfight transitions. Whether you watched from White team's perspective or Black team's, the series was a masterclass. NXG's Black and White 10 fame exploded. Fan requests poured into the club's official channels. Some even begged Jiang Ming to scrap the first team and form a galaxy battleship with these 10 to dominate S3. Jiang Ming smiled wryly. He'd seen the galaxy battleship curse before. Cobbling top-tier individuals together didn't guarantee a functioning team. Practical matters awaited. After guest commentating the finals, Jiang Ming returned to the mountain of work on his desk. The first batch of emails were transfer inquiries. Sell players? Not yet. He'd already renewed contracts for NXG's 10 players once they clinched LPL qualification. They weren't in the LPL proper yet. Selling now would fetch little. He planned to buy, not sell. The moment the 10 had secured their LPL spot, player prices would climb, so he wanted to act before inflation set in. Godaway, who'd been dismantled by NXG in the semis, would be an affordable target now. The club would be shopping. Chapter 201, Discussion on LSPL Formation, Double Monthly Pass Request. A professional player's value depends on many things: individual skill, past achievements, popularity, even how popular the game itself is. Compare sports. A footballer usually commands more attention than a table tennis player. A table tennis star is more famous than most badminton or track and field athletes. In just a few years, League of Legends had climbed to the top of online gaming. The player base spoke for itself. Fist and Penguin, who held all the shares behind it, wanted to expand the LOL Esports ecosystem even further, so growing the scale of professional competition was inevitable. Even without memories of the original timeline, Jiang Ming could already tell from the facts and a reasonable assessment that talented LOL pros, especially in some positions, would be scarce for a long time. Of the 5 roles, top, mid, jungle, AD carry, and support, mid was the rarest and most valuable. In the original timeline, the LPL had won 3 world championships and still couldn't produce a single domestic mid-talent of the highest caliber. If you were superstitious, you could romanticize that an old tyrant, the so-called Flying Heaven Emperor, had somehow cut off the LPL mid's path to greatness. But the plain fact remained: top-tier mids were hard to find. That was why Jiang Ming had his eyes on Godaway. As a domestic mid, Godaway's talent was close to top tier. Even late in his LOL career, he could dominate left-hand, who was hailed as a rising star. When Godaway moved on to PUBG, he thrived there too, a clear sign of raw skill. There was a small but telling anecdote that captured how uncanny his mechanics were. Many knew Faker liked to flick his screen around to soak up extra information. His hand speed and processing were abnormal. Fewer knew Godaway had a similar edge. Typical mouse DPI for LOL players sits between 800 and 2000. Lower feels heavy, higher feels floaty, and very few pros push past 3000. Godaway ran 3200 DPI with in-game sensitivity at 95. To a regular player, 3200 plus 95 meant the cursor would fly off the monitor with the smallest wrist movement. In a team fight, you'd lose your mouse. That Godaway could control it spoke volumes. Signing him would be a huge win for any club. VG, his current team, wasn't short on cash thanks to Boss Ding, but they hadn't racked up many honors. After losing in this year's TGA, they were headed to the secondary league for a season. A proud player like Godaway would want to move up, and VG wouldn't be able to keep him. More importantly, he was affordable now. A mid who had only played in the TGA was worth less than many players from NXG's 3 squads before they entered the LPL. As for temperament, by the look of his current form, Godaway wasn't getting arrogant. With professional training, youngsters like Qin Guangguang, Jiang Hong, Zhao Hao, Han Jun, or even Xiao Lindsay, who was cramming at home for exams, could eclipse him. Oh, and don't forget a certain Comrade Barflower, Jiang thought with a half grin. While he typed the invitation letter, Jiang Ming slapped his forehead. If his memory served him, that old thief had just joined VG this summer and wouldn't transfer to BUA until January next year. Boss Ding really did have a knack for grabbing potential players and still managing to fall to the secondary league. Only he could do it. To player Wenless: hello, we are the management team of the League of Legends division of NXG Electronic Sports Club. At VG, ever since the TGA semifinal loss, the training room atmosphere had frozen. The internet-addicted kids with no matches packed their bags. Those with private gigs had already made arrangements. Only a handful stayed to keep training. Wei Zhen slammed his keyboard after finishing a ranked game, bitter and frustrated. Imitation, imitation. Can't people do anything but copy? He'd been schooled. It wasn't that he hadn't lost before, but lately in high elo ranked matches, there always seemed to be a Lissandra in mid with Rod of Ages and Zhonya's wandering the lane. It made him sick. Lissandra had crowd control, fast wave clear, and huge displacement. Against assassins, she felt like a tamer with a whip. Assassins who ran into her were like tigers biting turtles, great claws, but no leverage. The culprit was a man named JM. Whenever Fist released a new champion, JM would master it at lightning speed and churn out tutorial videos overnight. When Lysandra hit the patch, she immediately became a hot pick for mid and even for jungle to mid synergies. In Season 3, among hundreds of champions, none had that same instinctive pairing with junglers for synergized plays. Wei Zhen had caught a streak of bad luck. Every game he got the friendly mid-jungle duo, Lysandra with Lee Sin, Lysandra with Rengar. A sequence of painful greetings from the enemy mid and jungle. Ding. You have a new email, NXG. Just as Gade Wei stood to grab a drink, a QQ mail notification flashed in the corner. Usually he ignored spam, but the 3 letters NXG made him look. He popped open a Sprite and took a long swallow, then sat down and clicked the mail. The title settled it, Tryout Invitation. Player Wenless, we have noticed your unique understanding of the game and exceptional individual mechanics in the TGA City League Championship, which align with our scouting criteria. We hereby formally invite you to an offline tryout at NXG Club to explore the possibilities of professional esports together. This is professional, he muttered. He scrolled and found detailed training management that VG didn't have. Appendix. Tryout arrangement. Time. July 29, 2013. August 5, 2013. Location. NXG Electronic Sports Club Base, Chisha District, Jinling City. Contact Mo Z, NXG Manager. Contact info 133xx. Tryout content 1. Individual ability assessment. A. Champion pool test. Proficiency in 6 or more current patch champions, including at least 1 off-meta counter pick. B. Basics in laning. Last hitting, trading, gank prevention, roaming awareness. C. Tactical execution. Complete specific coach-assigned tasks within time limits. 2. Team collaboration training. A. 5v5 scrims. B. Post-game reviews. C. Patch adaptability tests. 3. Psychological assessment. A. Decision stability under high pressure. B. Communication efficiency and emotional control. An expert's touch showed. VG had run some of these programs, but never with this clarity. NXG spelled out exactly what they'd test and even listed required documents, a photocopy of his ID, a recent passport photo. Crucially, round-trip travel, food, and accommodation during the tryout would be covered by the club. Rich and arrogant, Godaway said, smiling. NXG had entrenched popularity and sponsorships. Merch sales alone were a steady 6-figure monthly income. With prize money from 3 teams over half a year, NXG left other teams, many still reliant on internet cafe owners, in the dust. Should he go? He stared at the sycamore leaves outside, fingers drumming the desk. Logic said aim higher. NXG had a full training staff, a youth system, free board and lodging during tryouts. An experience there, even if it ended early, was better than drifting for 2 years. But pride tugged the other way. The loss in the TGA semifinals still stung. Leaving immediately for the team that beat you would look like selling out. The idea of the boys in the training room patting his shoulder, Wei Shen, stay and lead us to revenge next season, and then sneaking off with NXG's invitation in his pocket felt rotten. Damn it, dignity or the future? He hesitated. The bold line, food and accommodation all included, on the invitation felt like a smirk. Ahem, I'm sorry to inform everyone that our team will undergo some restructuring next season. The manager will discuss new contracts and arrangements with everyone in a few days. A VG management notification popped up on his phone at that moment. The contents made Gadewei's face shift. The conflict evaporated. The decision no longer felt like a betrayal. While Gadewei wrestled with his choice, Jiang Ming had already handed the tryout invitations and related matters to his club manager and driven alone to Penguin Sports headquarters. He wasn't alone in purpose. Pele from Wii Club, Hao Getting from OMG, and several other LPL club owners rode along or met there. The Penguin Lowell Operations Department had invited the LPL owners to discuss forming the LSPL, the League of Legends Secondary Pro League. "Oh, President Jiang, you're fast," Pele called from his car in the parking lot as Jiang pulled in. Jiang jangled his keys and teased, "If the car's poor, you have to drive faster to avoid being late." "Haha, nonsense. With your current value, buying a supercar isn't even a question. A Panamera or a Cayenne could be arranged casually. I'm used to being frugal. The club's a big family. Money's needed everywhere." "That's true." Pele nodded, then went to park. Maybe it was a generation gap, or maybe NXG's success had pushed other clubs into a defensive stance. Before the meeting, apart from Pele, few bothered to greet Jiang Ming. Fine, he didn't care for petty games. If clubs couldn't adapt to change and clung to old ways, they might as well withdraw early. After this year's Worlds, when capital flooded in, many would want to stay but be unable. The LPL teams had been aloof, but VG and LGD, still outside the LPL yet invited by Penguin, were enthusiastic. Boss Ding and Sister Pan kept asking how NXG did things. Jiang answered them sincerely. In esports, off-field relationships mattered as much as the on-field fight. Others wanted his operations expertise. He wanted the resources they could offer. Mutual benefit was the goal. Apologies for the wait, everyone. After a few minutes of small talk, Old Hu, the LPL representative, and several staff members came forward to greet them. Inside the conference room, Hu Chiming took the lead and set the tone for the day's meeting. The LSPL is expected to be officially established at the end of Season 3, early 2014. As the LPL's secondary league, its core objective is to build a tiered talent pipeline for our region's esports. Over the past 6 months, League of Legends' rise has been extraordinary. The City League Championship drew massive attention, and with the success of the LPL spring season and the Shanghai All-Stars, domestic esports has reached a new high. Yet despite this boom, we lack a standardized secondary league. Many professional or semi-professional teams have no steady match schedule or clear promotion channels, and grassroots amateur squads who are eager to participate have nowhere reliable to go. We need a secondary league to give these players a stage. It's also an inevitable step in the industry's development. Around the table, the assembled club owners and officials listened with varied expressions. The polite words were one thing, the real motive was another. Penguin Sports had seen the LPL's commercial success, and thanks to Jiang Ming's involvement with NXG, they now had a showcase success to pitch to potential sponsors. LSPL was as much about expanding the industry and attracting money as it was about nurturing talent. Still, that didn't mean the plan was without merit. Other regions had already been strengthening their secondary systems after suffering at the All-Star event. Penguin Sports was partly reacting to that. Hu Chiming handed out a thick proposal. These are the urgent issues we need to resolve regarding the LSPL. Please review and give your opinions. Penguin Sports wanted each LPL club to field a second team to guarantee professionalism. Naturally, they needed input from the clubs. All eyes turned to Jiang Ming. As a former pro, a coach, and the owner of 3 LPL teams, including NXG, he was the obvious expert on match structure. He sat calmly, reading the LSPL draft. Penguin Sports had indeed prepared detailed regulations. The key topics were match format, club admission criteria, commercial cooperation, player rights, and the link to the LPL. From an experience perspective, the framework was sound. The sticking points lay in the specifics. After a respectful pause, Hu Chiming cleared his throat. Jiang Ming, would you lead us off? Jiang Ming smiled slightly. We all have experience in this circle. I'll share some thoughts. If anything is inappropriate, please correct me. First, on match format. The match proposal leader had titled his section, How to Balance Competitiveness and Watchability. Jiang Ming agreed watchability mattered, but competitiveness was non-negotiable. The draft called for a double round-robin BO2 with 16 teams in 4 groups, top 2 advancing and bottom 2 facing relegation. That format risked grouping imbalances and unclear outcomes. For a development league especially, heavy relegation pressure and too few promotion slots could strangle clubs already managing tight budgets. The BO2 system leads to muddled standings and a long schedule, Jiang Ming said. I suggest the regular season be BO3, with playoffs primarily BO5. That preserves clear wins and losses and maximizes competitiveness. The room responded with measured approval. BO3 forces decisive outcomes and makes teams play to win, which is better for a league that aims to prepare talent for the top level. Pele, representing WE, focused next on admission rules. Penguin Sports had proposed a minimum registered capital of 5 million RMB and 3 months of financial statements to prevent shell teams. That felt onerous for grassroots clubs. The group compromised, keep the capital requirement, but allow new entrants a grace period to meet it if they show potential. Jiang Ming added that clubs must establish independent youth training camps and bring in at least 2 new players per year, or face losing their LSPL qualification. Cross-regional teams would be allowed initially, but clubs would be required to set up training bases in their registered locations later to foster local development. The conversation moved to commercial partnerships and streaming platforms, which naturally brought the discussion back to player rights and contract standards. Jiang Ming wanted player protections to be part of the foundation. "We can't keep repeating the contract disputes seen in other sports," he said. "Player contracts should be a minimum of 1 year and a maximum of 4 years. We should prohibit overlord clauses that bind players unfairly. We should set transfer windows, January before spring and June before summer, during which transfers can occur, and ban private negotiations outside these windows. Also, I propose a transfer fee cap set at a fraction of typical LPL player fees to prevent speculative hoarding of young talent." Some in the room blinked at the transfer cap. Jiang Ming's point wasn't to immediately deprive clubs of profit. It was to prevent a system that locks young players away under long, restrictive deals. Pele voiced enthusiastic agreement. "Perfecting the rules now will save us from big problems later." For a club like WE, which wanted to monetize visibility better, a fair, transparent system was welcome. Hu Qiming suggested leaving the thornier commercial split discussions for later. It was clear some issues involved tangled interests and would take time to resolve. After 2 or 3 days of meetings and revisions, the LSPL proposals were refined. Club owners debated contract standardization and transfer rules at length. Jiang Ming also shared his commercial experience and tentatively reached cooperation plans with several clubs, including VG, LGD, and the newly formed EDG. With EDG joining the discussion, it was likely they would appear on the LPL stage next year, after the summer season concluded. While Penguin Sports hurried to prepare the LSPL and Jiang Ming absorbed lessons from the process, the LPL summer season regular season was entering its climax. NXG opened the season strong, undefeated in Week 1 against OMG, Royal Club, PE, and YG, and sat atop the standings. IG, who had retooled and trained intensively over the offseason, also started the season unbeaten. IG's new support and top players drew quick praise, and their bottom lane stability allowed Shadow, the jungler, to exert more influence elsewhere. As the season intensified, fueled by the stakes of Worlds qualification, the tactical level rose sharply. Team strategy design, lane matchups, and coaching adjustments all mattered much more than in spring. The volatility of single-game BO1s began to show. In the third week, NXG finally lost. On August 16th, IG beat NXG. IG's mid laner Zitai was in explosive form and dominated the lane, while PDD, rejuvenated after off-season changes, imposed himself top against NXG's Song Yuan. IG's early economic lead was decisive, and despite NXG's resistance, IG demolished NXG's Nexus in the 37th minute. Commentators erupted. "NXG's undefeated streak is over," they exclaimed. From the spring season through summer, nearly 40 consecutive wins had come to an end. The crowd and broadcast teams paid tribute to the run, an extraordinary milestone in the LPL, and praised IG's performance that day. For NXG, the loss was not catastrophic. The defeat lifted some of the psychological pressure of perfection and seemed to refocus the roster. In the latter half of the regular season, NXG regained form and continued to dominate most regional rivals. Strong opponents like IG and OMG found it difficult to take wins off them consistently. Some teams even adjusted their strategies, choosing to focus their efforts elsewhere rather than challenge NXG head-on. In the end, NXG secured first place in the LPL summer season regular season. In September, Jiang Ming made a symbolic appearance on stage in the final regular season match, and the club clinched its place at the World Championship. The LSPL discussions continued in the background, but for the moment, the LPL's summer drama had closed one chapter and set the stage for the international battles to come. Chapter 203, The Severing of Ties, though late, has arrived. LPL summer regular season. NXG finished with an 18-3 record, taking first place on the standings. Trailing behind them were IG, Royal Never Give Up, OMG, and PE. After having their unbeaten run snapped by IG, and with first place secure, guaranteeing them a direct spot at the S3 World Championship, Jiang Ming instructed his coaching staff to start experimenting with different player combinations in official matches. Trying new things had its cost. The team dropped 2 more BO1s after the loss to IG. The fight for the remaining spots was brutal. IG, PE, RNG, and OMG ended up so close that head-to-head records decided their final order. With 4 teams neck and neck, WE became the victim. No one in the LPL expected that after NXG's streak was ended by IG, WE, a team that once claimed IPL 5 and boasted 2 all-star Dream Team members, Ming Kai and Wei Xiao, would fail to even qualify for the S3 World Championship Bubble Tournament. Esports forums erupted with debate and ridicule. Are you kidding me? The team that won IPL 5 can't even make the bubble? They don't even have a chance at the bubble tournament, let alone Worlds. We helped the LPL get 3 World slots, and now they can't go? This is a bad joke. I accepted their spring collapse. New patches are brutal, but Ming Kai and Wei Xiao have played together so long with JM. They can't adapt. Adapt how? Change the top or support? Who should they replace? It's inevitable. NXG's rise comes with WE's decline. In the S3 assassin meta, top mid-jungle skirmishing is king. Wee's bottom lane carry style can't carry every game. Who's to blame? Fans screaming for the same faces? Management prioritizing traffic over results? If your top and mid are losing every game, you're behind before the fight even starts. Even a godly Wei Xiao can't rescue that every time, and his form is dipping too. The mid lane got shut down every match. Their twisted fate got hard countered by Fizz. If you can't perform, just retire already. Don't bash people for selling pork floss bread. JM sold pork floss bread, and he's still dominating. To be fair, NXG's doing great. They lost and started experimenting. Those late-season losses were on purpose. What can you do if they have the right idea and you can't copy it? Let's stop talking about we. Bad luck. As the forum threads churned, attention turned to Jiangming and NXG, but Yui refused to fade quietly. Overnight, search terms about the team trended on Weibo. WE suspected internal strife, loss of Worlds qualification ignites conflict, WE to disband. Industry insiders claiming some WE players were already talking to other teams, and the hot topics read like an obituary, the former pride of the national server, today's severing of ties. The spark was a Weibo post from Wee's top laner, Cao Mei. Wee Cao Mei wrote, "As teammates, as friends, as brothers, I beg you, please stay with me until we finish next. I beg you, even if we finish last, let me fight with you one more time. Even if it's the last time, I beg you." The tone was pleading and raw. Comments flooded in. What's happening? We can rebuild from here. Why does it have to come to this? If they really wanted to split, at least let them play the last match. I wanted to rant at Cao Mei, but after seeing this, I can't. Someone who usually posts a lot is quiet now. Who is it? With Cao Mei posting like this and excluding one unbelievably bad mid laner, you can guess who's leaving WE. Is Wei Xiao leaving, or is it the jungler and support who are going? WE's internal storm only intensified. As a former world champion organization, despite their slide since early 2013, they still had a global following. The public spectacle stunned many in the scene. Talk about NXG securing the first world slot, and the scramble for the last 2 spots in the bubble tournament was suddenly overshadowed. Jiang Ming didn't expect that. Even after he had already warped the original timeline beyond recognition, Wei would self-destruct into public infighting over results. As a veteran with memories from the original timeline, he understood the roots of the scandal. It wasn't simply a matter of right or wrong. Ming Kai and Wan Mao choosing to pursue better prospects and leaving for EG with Abu was understandable. The club, holding contracts and having reaped years of traffic dividends, refusing to release stars was within commercial logic. At the core, however, the management was a mess, a series of poor decisions, allowing players to play casually outside the team, tolerating unprofessional behavior that wrecked competitive readiness, and monetizing drama had stacked the deck against long-term stability. Those absurd operations had become standard operating procedure. None of Wee's chaos involved NXG. The fervor of WE's fans and the trolls on Weibo hunting for traitors or blaming rival clubs didn't touch Jiang Ming's team. Everyone in the LPL knew NXG had the deepest talent pool, new prospects queued in the youth academy waiting for a shot. For players like WE's jungler and support, who had results but carried steep price tags, NXG showed little interest. The club's focus after the regular season was total World Championship preparation, training plans, practice rotations for the first and second teams, the whole club engaged. No matter how insightful Jiang Ming was, he couldn't skip the necessary grind. There were no supernatural shortcuts. To avoid being dominated at Worlds, you had to put in the hours. On the management side, Chen Muxin, a Jinling University graduate who now ran club operations, and Lao Mo handled the club's administration. With the whole team concentrated on Worlds, NXG sidestepped the kind of internal chaos that plagued others. Chen Muxin had quickly impressed Jiang Ming. Her operational proposals drew from both industry experience and lessons from the original timeline. She recognized that while die-hard fans were a team's most valuable asset, if left unguided, their spreadability could become a double-edged sword. In the original timeline, fan-driven scandals, mass revocations of fan status, sponsor boycotts that gutted deals, online mobs holding clubs hostage had repeatedly derailed teams. Fan economy was vital, but a club could not be hostage to biased emotional fan groups. Chen Muxin's first task was to bring order to NXG's fan operations. She proposed establishing a dedicated fan ecosystem management department with professionals handling fan engagement rather than letting players or passionate volunteers run community channels. Yes, it raised costs, but the benefits outweighed the expenses. Rapid monitoring of public opinion across Weibo, forums, and live streams, better communication to prevent irrational fan behavior that could chase away sponsors, and a buffer between fans and the club's daily operations. Beyond damage control, her plan focused on growth and loyalty. Regularly publish lightweight content, match highlights, player bloopers, short-form videos across platforms to attract casual viewers and keep core fans engaged. For core fans, the club would maintain QQ groups, share match footage, highlight compilations, and first-hand strategy content. Chen Muxin proposed a fan contribution value system. Fans earn points by checking in, reposting, commenting, and redeem them for club perks. For the ultra-devoted, there'd be a super fan tier, a team membership program modeled on examples from the original timeline, but without charging extortionate fees. Jiang Ming recoiled at the idea of milking fans with expensive membership cards when the club had no financial desperation. Instead, he wanted a fair, reasonable, and unobjectionable path to membership that prioritized engagement over profit. He refined Chen Muxin's suggestions with his own ideas from future lessons and even sketched out a concept map for the membership acquisition process. With the fan strategy in place and the entire organization focused on Worlds training, NXG had little time to indulge in the spectacle of another team's fall. The severing of ties in WE might have finally come, late, messy, and public, but for Jiang Ming and NXG, the only thing that mattered was preparing to prey at Worlds. Chapter 204, Mascot, Justice Invincible, Cosmic Radiance, Ultimate Yin Yang Top. NXG Superfan Membership Card, How to Obtain. 1. Spend over 5,000 at the NXG merch store in the past year with at least 6 months of continuous purchases. 2. Attend at least 10 offline matches in a single season. 3. Actively participate in promoting the team and make substantial contributions in online communities and forums. When Jiang Ming was drafting the acquisition rules for the club's Superfan membership card, he'd consulted a professor at his school who had experience running membership-based stores. The 6-month continuous purchase threshold prevents opportunistic spurts of spending just to grab a card, while the offline attendance option lets fans who prefer watching in person prove their loyalty without extra financial strain. For fans who can't meet the first 2 conditions, an asset-light third option was deliberately included. It was basically asking for conscience and effort. NXG's membership benefits weren't going to be cheap trinkets tossed at fans to placate them. From exclusive identity design and personalized team jersey customization to birthday merchandise boxes, post-game interactive events, invitations to occasional club esports experiences, and even opportunities to co-create club culture, everything was crafted with sincerity. In fact, in the past 2 days, NXG's official Weibo and fan groups had already been soliciting proposals for the club's mascot and the S3 World Championship uniform. It wasn't that the club was too lazy to design. After all, the first batch of super membership cards issued was tiny, only 53. What could so few people possibly come up with worth borrowing? Hey, don't say that. A few of the older brothers actually produced some solid concepts. Our national server players really are creative. Whether the praise was sincere or not, Jiang Ming, alone in his office, couldn't stop looking at the mascot concept drawings a few diehard fans had sent. He'd turned into Nicholas, truly fragrant, Jingzhe. 3 of the designs met the standards, each with unique traits and fitting the club's mascot requirements perfectly. When had concept designs good enough to make designers jealous become so easy to come by? Lin Jingyi popped her head in and said, "This is probably the power of passion." "So we're back at everyone's least favorite. Choose 1 out of 3, she sighed. "Picking is torture. Can't adults just have them all?" Jiang Ming joked. Of course he couldn't pick them all. Besides, a mascot is meant to be unique. He'd already sent the fan designs that passed the initial screening to the designer, but Jiang Ming treated the mascot as something more than a logo. It was a cultural anchor. In esports, a mascot has become much more than a symbolic figure from traditional sports. It's a core cultural carrier that links the club, its fans, and the broader ecosystem. Think RNG's Slime Monster, EDG's Silver Dragon Knight, FPX's Little Phoenix. These are brand personifications. NXG needed that kind of symbol too. Because NXG's fanbase was mostly Gen Z, their cultural identity favored symbolic, youthful expression. Mascots often blend anime, cyberpunk, and local culture, becoming a visual tag for the community and helping fans feel we and NXG are the same tribe. Mascots are also perfect for short-form, fragmented content, emojis, animated shorts, virtual streams, turning into a nearly perpetual content engine. Streamers would eventually design their own anime avatars based on these mascots. The roots of that trend were obvious. Most importantly, a mascot provides a stable emotional anchor for fans. Team performance rises and falls, but a mascot's image remains steady, giving fans something consistent to love. Any sensible club operator would invest in that. No more agonizing, Jiang Ming decided. Let's not limit ourselves to these few designs. Put them online and get everyone's opinions. And have the fans pick the name too. Don't be afraid of weird names. The stranger, the more likely they'll attract attention. That evening, NXG's Weibo post about the mascot design and naming contest shot up the trending list. NXG Electronic Sports Club posted, "To all summoners, the NXG Club mascot design and naming contest is officially open. To all Baron Nashors, Jungle Overlords, mid-lane Mage Kings, bottom-lane ADCs, and supports of light, unleash your creativity. From today until September 1st, your design could become the club's sole totem, fighting alongside the team on the LPL stage and even reaching the World Finals." Design requirements. Image must embody esports spirit and club culture, including logo and team colors. Style is open. Naming has no restrictions except vulgar or negative terms. Generous rewards. Champion, 1 winner, 5,000 cash, plus a full year of VIP home game seats. Mascot figurine customization rights, plus official merchandise revenue share. 1 club lifetime super membership card. Shortlist, 5 winners. Team signed jersey, plus limited edition gift package. Works featured on official channels. Public participation. All submissions eligible for a merchandise raffle. How to participate. Weibo, post with hashtag NXTag NXG Club Mascot Official, or email your package to NXG5221 with file name, contact info, images in JPG, PNG at 300 DPI minimum, and include a concept explanation within 200 words. Selection process, summoners, pick up your brushes. Your creation could become the team's spiritual totem, stirring a new storm on the rift. Attach design drafts from 3 NXG super members. Once the event launched, reads, clicks, comments, and shares rocketed. What Jiang Ming hadn't expected was that people's first focus wasn't the mascot art at all, but the super membership card mentioned in the post. Club super membership card? Hakiming, you sly fox. You did this without telling your fans. Personalized jerseys, exclusive identification on the fan wall, an invitation to visit the club. Are you kidding me? Ooh, I'm only 10 years old, and you left me out. Damn, to meet the card conditions you need 5,000s in the shop or 10 match attendances in a season. There sure are a lot of rich people. Office workers can't afford this. Who got which super member number? I'm dying to know. The guy upstairs is only 003. I got 009. Wonder who's 001. You're not showing off, are you? As a broke student, the third option is perfect. My sister posts club promos all the time. By the way, shouldn't we focus on the mascot? Those design drafts are pretty cool. Hakiming, are you sure we can call the mascot anything? I propose. Cool and awesome, invincible Tyrannosaurus Rex. What about Ultimate Storm Overlord, Violent Thunder, Chaos Battle, Spiral Ascension, Little Bird Beast? Haha, these names will make the mascot vote a disaster. Old Brother even made a vote. Must vote for Little Bird Beast. Please call him Ultimate Storm Overlord, Violent Thunder, Chaos Battle, Spiral Ascension, Little Bird Beast. My Ultimate Storm War God Mad Dragon objects. My Crystal Nexus Guardian Mechanical Dragon might be better. No, change it to Justice Invincible Cosmic Radiance Ultimate Yin Yang Top King. With a flood of playful suggestions, the mascot naming thread exploded beyond the usual esports circle. Random passersby joined in, amused by the lack of restrictions and the sheer absurdity of some names. The WE Club management watched, stunned. NXG was stealing all the attention with a single mascot vote in the middle of their club turmoil. While NXG was busy with the mascot contest, the fight for the final 2 LPL seeds for the S3 World Championship was heating up. The 4 teams ranked 2nd through 5th, IG, PE, OMG, and Royal Club, were locked in a brutal single-elimination gauntlet. Instead of a points-based system, this gauntlet was simple and ruthless. The teams were paired serpent-style by ranking, 2nd versus 5th and 3rd versus 4th. Losers in the first round were immediately eliminated from World's contention. Winners advanced to fight for the final 2 seeds. As soon as the pairings were announced, fans couldn't help but sigh. Who would have thought PE, the team that faced NXG in the Spring Split Finals 2 months earlier, would slide to 5th and be forced to play star-studded IG in a do-or-die match? Even more shocking, legendary WE, an IPL 5 winner, didn't qualify for the gauntlet at all. In the OMG versus Royal Club matchup, public opinion strongly favored OMG. Stable operations, a top mid-jungle style similar to NXG, and more mature tournament experience made them the expected victors. September 1st arrived, and NXG officially unveiled the club mascot's image and name, Justice Invincible, Cosmic Radiance, Ultimate Yin Yang Top. The whimsical name came from the crowd's collective creativity. Fans had noticed that the flame tassel element in NXG's logo looked like a spinning top or a whip, and joked that NXG's sharp, suppressive playstyle was like whipping opponents. Combining those ideas with the childhood memory of spinning tops gave rise to the top concept, which echoed both the logo detail and the team's aggressive identity, with a playful twist. At that same moment, the LPL gauntlet began. The first match was IG versus PE. The strengthened IG looked formidable. With a gradually stabilizing bottom lane and intense aggression in the top half, IG exploited the meta to its fullest. PE had been mired in internal problems during the summer split. On raw talent, Aluka and Van in top and mid couldn't match up to veterans like PDD and Zitai. In the BO5 gauntlet opener, IG swept PE 3-0. It was a clear message. IG, with their revamped coaching staff and roster capable of taking a game off NXG, had reached a new level. The former S2 powerhouse had completed its transformation and secured the second ticket to the S3 World Championship. Chapter 172, Yulan, do I have to pick Zed? Many players, even some pros, had a fixed idea about Royal Club. They only ever played 4 Protect 1. In reality, that was not just a simplification, it was completely wrong. Royal Club's top and mid laners were excellent. In the entire LPL, they easily belonged in the top 3. Compared to Wii's top and mid, they were several tiers stronger. OMG had made a fatal mistake of empirical thinking when they prepared to face Royal Club for a world spot. They put all their early game emphasis on the bottom lane, and not only did it fail to pay off, it left their top and mid vulnerable to Spider-Man, Royal Club's jungler. Shen Chao's Renekton became unstoppable in teamfights, and Royal Club's mid, Wei completely shut down Wu Zhuangtai. On the afternoon of the 2nd, during the 4th game of the Royal Club versus OMG Gauntlet match, the score was 2-1 in Royal Club's favor. In that 4th game, Royal Club's top, mid, and jungler had a massive gold lead. Their AD was Tristana, a champ with solid late-game scaling, and she was safely following her teammates while they demolished turrets. The economic gap kept growing. Viewers in the live chat quickly noticed that Jiang Ming's prediction had come true. OMG's good, but their style gets hard countered by Royal Club. I think the last Worlds spot will go to Royal Club. At first, people had dismissed Jiang Ming's comment as a casual remark on stream. Now, as the game unfolded exactly as he'd said, viewers couldn't hide their surprise. No way, mutual counters actually exist. It's over. A team that specializes in 4 Protect 1 even got an early lead. How can OMG fight back? I heard Royal Club demoted their seniors 2 ranks just to let their bot lane soak pressure. Honestly, Jiang Ming was right. Royal Club's mid isn't bad. If OMG's mid can't hold, top and jungle alone can't win the early game. People said OMG's early game was on par with NXG. Everyone laughed, but OMG took it seriously. Some even called Wu Zhuangtai the world's second best mid after Jiang Ming. Look at the result. Royal Club closed the series 3-1 and took the final gauntlet spot, an upset that surprised a lot of people. Before the match, forums had been full of boasts that the dark horse who upset NXG in the regular season would sweep 3-0 like IG. That overconfidence came from relying on matches against an NXG that had no pressure in the regular season, a foolish comparison. With Royal Club's win, the LPL's 3 Worlds representatives were set: NXG, IG, and Royal Club. Back at the NXG clubhouse, the boys were glued to the screen. "Holy crap, what's happening?" Shujing leapt up, pointing at his monitor. Pang Ran and Xiao Wu, mid-snack, nearly toppled over at his sudden motion. "Calm down, old Shu," Pang Ran grumbled once he'd regained his footing. "It's just Royal Club beating OMG and getting into Worlds." "It's not that. Check the OGN gauntlet. SKT versus KT. Xiao Lizi's about to reverse sweep from 2 games down." Shujing's voice shook. Before the others could process, Xiao Shito and Song Yuan had already pulled up streams for the OGN gauntlet. They followed Korean news closely. SKT had missed Faker for the latter half of the season because of health issues, and SS0 had taken first seed. The OGN system, like the LPL's, didn't hand a Worlds spot automatically to the summer split champions. Seeding was based on cumulative points across spring and summer, so even champions had to fight through the gauntlet. When Faker returned, the team still had coordination problems from his absence, and SKT had stumbled into a tough gauntlet path. Many on Korean forums were already counting SKT out. The first 2 games went KT's way in convincing fashion. But the third game flipped the script. Benji's Blind Monk stole Nashor with 7 HP left. SKT grabbed Baron and turned the game, evening the series. In Game 4, SKT's bot lane traded well in laning, and the rest of the team pressured KT into constant fights. SKT closed that match at 27 minutes. Momentum had shifted. In the winner-takes-all 5th game, both mids locked in the same champion at once. Yulun, do I have no choice but to pick Zed today? 1 game, 2 Zeds, mid-lane showdown at the high ground turret. Yulun, at full health, flashed in and used his ultimate, only to be outplayed and killed by an opponent who was low on HP. It was the kind of moment that makes casters lose their minds. SKT completed the reverse sweep and claimed OGN's final world slot. Korean forums erupted with threads like OGN's brave comeback, Jiang Ming's biggest threat at S3, and OGN's best year to challenge the LPL. After watching SKT's match, Jiang Ming felt a familiar unease, a kind of paranoia about lacking raw firepower. NXG had basically solved their biggest problem, laning, after extensive training with the Academy squad. Their tactics and team fighting were second to none in S3, but he still wasn't comfortable. Xiao Lizi's performance on this assassin-heavy patch was strong. NXG had to be absolutely prepared. So Jiang Ming added a couple of extra trump cards to their arsenal, just 2 more safeguards on top of the dozens they already had. Weezabu had once boasted on a variety show about preparing 40 tactics for his team. That sounded like bragging, but NXG actually had that many. With more than a decade of future experience to draw on, Jiang Ming could extract playable strategies for the current patch with ease. If the players had endless energy, he could have given them even more options. As he liked to say, when you're short on resources, use tactics. When you're rich, just outmuscle them. But adults don't choose one or the other. They want both. Individual skill needed drilling, and team tactics needed practice. From groups to finals, Jiang Ming wanted the team to look different every game. The next day, after wrapping up his work, Jiang Ming called the first team to the office for the usual once-over. There was one simple purpose: bump everyone's contract pay another notch before they left for Worlds. A raise. The 5 players reacted exactly as expected. Endless extra training and tactical reps had drained them, but news of another salary increase lifted spirits instantly. Nobody likes overtime, but fewer people mind when overtime pay is good. So Jiangming raised their base salaries for 2 reasons. The players deserved world-class compensation now that they'd qualified for Worlds, and the club needed to protect its interests during the upcoming transfer window. With the regular season over, clubs were already lining up to poach talent from NXG's academy, and the first team were proven performers who would attract offers. By increasing salaries and adding higher buyout clauses, NXG could secure better transfer fees later. The new contracts also added performance incentives tied to Worlds, bonuses for top 4, runner-up, and champion. To be honest, aside from the championship payout, the other bonuses were modest. If the players wanted the big money, only winning the whole thing would do it. After the signings, Jiang Ming had Chen Muxin take the players to try on the Expedition uniforms from their online store partner. If the sizes and fit were good, they'd shoot promotional photos and record a couple of pre-match interviews that afternoon. The S3 Expedition kits followed previous production standards. Thanks to the All-Star uniform success, the club had the design rights for the region's Expedition uniforms, and Tencent had agreed to the same revenue split as before. Tencent's promotional machine swung into action. Online, offline, even merchandise plushies, the rollout was smooth. Jiang Ming's only thought was to make sure NXG got its fair share in the offline distribution. For the kit, Jiang Ming didn't try to reinvent the wheel. He picked the S5 blue and white porcelain design from the original timeline, a concept that embodied LPL identity while being elegant and striking. The base white with blue patterns celebrated national cultural heritage, and the style was both grand and subtly clever. On the back of each jersey, they placed a personalized brushstroke character in Yan script, matching players' roles. The 5 ancient characters Zhan, War, Mu, Strategy, Do, Fight, Conquer, and Si, Scheme, corresponding to top, jungle, mid, ADC, and support. The calligraphy was vigorous, almost like carved strokes. The typography alone conveyed a fighting spirit. Had the LPL not performed disappointing at S5 Worlds in the original timeline, this design would have sold like wildfire. As soon as the draft was submitted to the region's management, it was approved within 24 hours, to Chen Muxin's amazement. "It's our first client who didn't ask for a single revision," she complained with a laugh. "Maybe they want the finished product ready for sale ASAP," Jiang Ming joked. "Probably," Chen Muxin replied. "Okay, I'll go check on the fitting. We'll shoot the promo this afternoon. Go ahead." Jiang Ming and his 2 managers, Mo Zi and Chen Muxin, ran the club with clear divisions. Mo Zai handled internal affairs like youth development, while Chen Muxin ran external affairs, image, branding, promotions. When the club started, Jiang Ming had been involved in everything, from photo shoots to mascot contests. Now Chen Muxin ran complex tasks like the mascot design competition end-to-end. Taking players to shoot expedition photos was trivial for her. The operation ran smoothly without the boss hovering over every detail. Chapter 216, A Blitz on North America? All right, players, look at me. Chin down a bit, a little more. Try to keep your gaze calmer, forehead slightly forward. Yes, don't be too ostentatious. If you overdo it, the photos will look cheap. You know the difference between an arrogant kid and a confident, strong player, right? We want the latter. Inside the photography studio, Gu Zening, who had been taking graduation photos at the Jinling University Job Fair just a few months earlier, now stood as NXG's full-time photographer. Chen Muxin watched from the side as Gu barked instructions to a few freshmen from the University Photography Club who had come to help gain experience. She couldn't help but sigh. Her boss really did have an eye for talent. Jiang Ming had spotted Gu's potential from a single candid shot of a graduating senior, and that one glance had turned into a hire. Gu had redrawn the team's promotional concept from scratch after Jiang Ming shared his ideas, turning the club's original references into something far better. As Chen Muxin admired the result, Gu Zening felt much the same inwardly. 3 months ago, he'd been setting up a tripod at a job fair. He never imagined those back-of-suit shots would lead him to a studio with an 8-meter ceiling, an equipment room like a small gear exhibition, and top-tier lenses at his fingertips. The space was rented, but the gear was genuine, apparently a sponsor's complimentary contribution. Even so, his parents still teased him about joining a pyramid scheme when he told them about his job the third time. The pay and benefits were unreal, and the club's paths for career growth made the offer irresistible. For now, he was officially an employee of Jingji Culture, an in-house photographer dedicated to NXG. Once the players were ready, Gu flipped back into focus. "Lower your arm swing a bit. Don't block the right side of the jersey. We're pretending to sprint, not actually run. Rakan, keep your feet on the ground." Under Gu's rapid-fire directions, Song Yuan and the others fell into expressions of despair. Sure, they could dominate on stage, but posing for promotional shots was its own kind of torture. Half a day of photos and filming had left them stiffer than several days of intense practice. The only exception was Xu Jing, the flamboyant AD. He'd been enjoying every minute, throwing heart signs at the camera, smiling in a way that could rope in a child with a soy sauce bottle. Even Gu Zhenning, the consummate professional, found himself laughing aloud. Maybe tone it down a bit," he said. In an era when pro players could stumble over a two-sentence interview, Xu Jing was a social phenomenon ahead of his time. After Pang Ran finished his solo shots, he collapsed into a folding chair and, tugging at his collar, turned to Xiao Shito beside him. "Hey, Xiao Shito, what do you think we should prepare for playing in North America?" "I don't know," Xiao Shito said, still dazed from expression managing. "I've never been abroad. We'll just follow Ming Ji and the club's plan. They'll teach us." At NXG, that was the rule. Never skimp on training. Boss Jiang Zong believed firmly, there are no players who can't learn, only poor teaching. Whenever the team faced a new situation, the club brought in professionals or prepared comprehensive materials, everything from competition etiquette and post-match interview skills to fan interaction and live stream speaking. 2 hours later, Gu finally called. "Rap!" The 5 NXG players rose like springs. Even Xu Jing, who'd been playing to the camera, scurried out of the studio looking exhausted. "We're heading back to the base first," someone said. "Sis Chen, I've still got 2 ranked games to finish today. My grandaunt had a baby. I'm calling to congratulate her. Work hard tonight. Once you're supervised, send the footage to me." Chen Muxin squinted at the sweating Gu Zhenning, feeling a pang of reluctance. There were more promotional steps on the schedule. LPL Expedition uniforms still waiting to launch, only external promotion left, and she didn't want to delay. So she swallowed her protest and ordered the junior photographer to stay late. Gu didn't object. As a new hire, he wanted to prove himself, and frankly, he didn't want a more experienced senior dragged in to replace him if the job lagged. He slumped into the chair, rubbed his aching shoulders, glared at the pile of unexported raw files on the screen, and then sprang back to work, apologizing to the manager before diving into the edits. While the photo shoot went on, the rest of the club had not been idle. Preparations for the players' trip to North America had been completed over a month ago. NXG had no first-hand experience taking a team overseas, but regional peers did. WE and IG had run similar operations. After some thought, Zhang Ming preferred to ask IG for advice rather than WE. WE had just confirmed they weren't going to Worlds, and it felt awkward to press them for help right then. Past exchanges and training sessions paid off. The club had already put together a full process for travel, competition logistics, and the paperwork. Staff were assigned to coordinate everything. Nearly 10 people, players, coaches, logistics staff, would be making the trip, a group comparable to 2 neighboring Royal Club rosters combined. The first priority was visas. Most staff could apply for B1, B2 business tourist visas, but players and core coaches needed P1A visas for professional athletes. Tencent had stepped in to help coordinate. Without that support, preparing passports and all required documentation would have been brutal for these newcomers. Zhang Ming himself admitted that beyond a few basic items, white background photos and the like, he'd never really understood the fine details, English itineraries, bank statements, or how to avoid tripwire words in interviews with immigration officers. With visas handled, the travel plan followed. Players would enter the US 10 days early to adjust to the time difference. Following logistics suggestions, their daily schedule would be moved forward by 2 hours each day, until they were on local time. Logistics staff would arrive 2 days ahead to secure accommodation, meals, and training equipment. The 2013 World Championship had used several Los Angeles venues, from a studio to the Galen Center and Staples Center, so for convenience, Jiang Ming booked the Standard Hollywood in West LA, a 4-star hotel with suites roughly around $100 a night. By Season 3, players no longer had to endure the cramped, rough travel of past years. Still, diet and medical care remained big concerns. Players accustomed to the cafeteria food back home would struggle with sweet, unfamiliar Western menus if no alternatives were available. Medical costs in North America were another headache. Visiting a doctor could easily cost thousands of dollars. Teams that didn't want huge bills often carried ample medication or brought a team doctor. Many pros who appeared to tough it out didn't avoid hospitals by choice. They avoided them because the bills were crippling. On top of logistics and health, the team needed training tailored to an overseas environment, how to conduct themselves, interact with media, and avoid cultural pitfalls. Clearing his notes, Jiang Ming reminded himself of another important point. They were going to America, a country with a different culture and different everyday realities, where things like personal freedoms and firearms make certain public behaviors and risks more common. The club's preparations had covered many practicalities, but teaching the players essential common sense for life and competition abroad could not be overlooked. Chapter 217, World Championship, Here We Come. Please vote for monthly tickets. Afternoon, September 5th, 2013. The advance party of NXG bound for the S3 World Championship, led by Chen Muxin, had already left. The rest of the team would fly out in the early morning of the 7th. The staggered schedule was intentional. Arriving a day later after a long-haul flight helps players adjust to the time difference. The flight from Modu Pudong Airport to Los Angeles takes about 11 hours. And even if you can't sleep well on the plane, exhaustion usually forces you under soon after landing, which speeds up recovery. After seeing off the operations manager, Jiang Ming and the players gathered at the training base that evening to watch the World Championship draw. In 2013, Riot, here referred to as Fist, hadn't yet set up the elaborate pre-Worlds promotional events that would come later. There were no official top 10 player lists or the like. Players and fans made their own rankings on forums for fun, though naturally everyone wanted their region's teams ranked highest. Still, those homemade lists didn't carry much weight. What nobody expected was that the draw ceremony itself would blow up into a global discussion frenzy. The popularity of the live stream spiked. Real-time viewership climbed to levels that started to eclipse the recently finished LPL Bubble Playoff Finals. IG had just beaten Royal Never Give Up in the Bubble Playoffs to secure the LPL's second seed, but under the S3 format that didn't mean much in terms of group placement. Fist's World Championship system was still immature, and the event featured far fewer teams than in later years, so regional ranking advantages barely mattered. Of course, no one would refuse an easy group if they could. Teams wanted to avoid facing top opponents early in BO1 group stages and being forced to burn tactical cards too soon. The S3 World Championship only had 14 teams. The top seeds from 4 major regions, North America, LPL, OGN, and LMS, advanced directly to the quarterfinals. The remaining 10 teams were split into 2 BO1 double round-robin groups, with the top 2 from each group joining the seeded teams. Because of that, this particular draw didn't directly affect NXG. Jiang Ming didn't watch it with the players in the training room. He went to his office, started a live stream, and analyzed the group stage for his viewers as a way to pass the time. The chat filled instantly with people surprised to see him. Who is this? Who followed this unknown streamer? The Return of the Missing Persons series. Do you remember you used to stream selling pancakes? Are you abandoning your old fans? Back then they called you Sweetheart. Now that you have a club, they call you Madam Cow. New always beats old. Jiang Ming laughed and explained, I've been busy preparing for Worlds, but I had some free time today, so I came to stream for you all. Viewers poured in. People cared about the group draw as much as players did. Those who didn't care about the competition wouldn't tune in, plain and simple. Memories of past teams using players watching the draw as content lingered. In one club's pre-match recorded drawing video, a player gave a famous two-stage laugh and then lost the match, and fans still used it to ridicule the club. Mingjae, first comment on the seeded teams from other regions. The first seeds won't meet each other. I want to know which teams IG and RNG hope to draw against. Doesn't matter who they draw, just no internal conflict. Jiangming was shoveling down the dinner his senior sister had cooked and had to pause to answer. He didn't like the phrase, which team is easier to play against. Everyone on a professional team is aiming for the championship. No one is saying top 4 or a runner-up is success. It's fine to hope for an easier BO1 group stage so you don't reveal all your cards, but if you're thinking like that in the knockouts, you're in danger. Mouthful of rice, he added. Besides, if both RNG and IG advance, having 3 LPL teams in the quarterfinals makes internal clashes almost a coin flip. Because Jiang Ming's influence had changed history, the S3 Worlds roster wasn't the same as in his previous life. In the seeded group, OGN's first seed had shifted from Najin Sword to SSO. Najin, who should have been the first seed, had been routed by SKT in a key match and collapsed mentally. They ended the regular season 4th, then were crushed 3-0 by AF in the bubble playoffs and eliminated. Europe's first seed was S1 champion FNC, North America's was perennial team C9. LMS's first seed was an unexpected Orange Bears instead of S2 champion TPA, which hadn't even qualified, an outcome that sparked endless soul-searching threads in LMS forums. Did TPA simply decide not to go because they couldn't beat anyone in S3 and preferred to preserve the glory of S2? Among the seeds, C9 and SSO were largely filler this year. C9's stability at making quarterfinals or semis was almost a curse. You remember them only because they're in the top 16 every year. As for SSO, players who filtered past S4 memories of Samsung Blue and White might forget that SSO's S3 performance was poor. With Hongmi, Looper, Imp, and Dandy, they still lost repeatedly to FNC and Gambit in what should have been a weaker Group B and were eliminated in groups. Before Jiang Ming could finish his sentence about teams to watch, the live broadcast's draw ended. The 10-group draw moved fast. IG and RNG were lucky. In S3, there was no same region avoidance rule, so they ended up in different groups, IG in Group A, RNG in Group B, avoiding an LPL internal clash during groups. IG's opponents were SKT, Lemondogs, TSM, and WildcardGamingGear.eu. RNG's group included FNC, Gambit, Team Vulcan, and Minsky. Europe, on the other hand, got an early internal fight. Jiang Ming joked that if the draw guest hadn't been FNC's former support, he'd suspect some NA shenanigans. As he thought about that, his phone buzzed. A message from Wang Sikong popped up. Wang Sikong. During Worlds, NXG should scrim with IG. You know what I mean. I might as well be blunt. I know you scrim with SKT a lot. I'm not asking for much. I'll cover your players' round-trip airfare. Can you lend us a week before the quarterfinals? Brother, you know I'm not that kind of person, he typed, half protesting. I'll also cover accommodation at the Standard Hollywood Hotel. That last line made Jiang Ming beam. Oh, how embarrassing. It's just practice, exchange, scrims, right? We're like family, no need to be formal. The offer made financial sense. Airfare and a hotel stay wouldn't break the club, and NXG needed quality scrims before the knockout stage. If a wealthy team offered to bring practice to their doorstep and even pay for it, NXG, a small, self-sustaining club, would be foolish to refuse. Any money saved could go to fan benefits or better meals for the players. Wang Sikong had reasons beyond generosity. Fist had just released a major patch ahead of Worlds, a nerf to the built-in trinket ward on new champions, giving everyone one short-duration ward at the start of the game, synchronization of jungle monster and minion wave spawn times so buffs spawn with waves, nerfs to items like Deathfire Grasp and Brutalizer, and a host of jungle monster changes. The 6th jungle camp, the Greater Merc Wolf, predecessor to the jungle's Froggy Queen, had been modified, more monsters overall, tweaked attributes, increased buff health, reduced gold, and less experience from small camps. The aim was to weaken early-game ganking power of junglers. Towers were also adjusted. Fist increased tower attack damage and attack frequency against champions because teams had been diving too easily in the prior 6 months of competition. Faced with such sweeping changes, Wang Xikong knew NXG's coaching staff did the right work but lacked depth in organization. The fastest way to adapt was to copy NXG's training system, hence the generous offer. The next day, with the draw and the patch revealed and clips of Zhang Ming's live analysis circulating, discussion exploded online. Forums were jammed with threads about Worlds, replies flooding in. "Where's NXG? I can't find them in the group list." Remember, the region's first seed goes straight to the quarterfinals. The group stage is just the appetizer. Fist's system is ridiculous. Why do first seeds skip groups? Why not divide 12 teams into 3 groups? There's no protection against same region matchups in groups. Europe got shafted. I smell NA conspiracy. Go IG, beat SKT. RNG, I can't cheer for them. Their kill the horse style embarrasses me. Zitai, stand up. Prove you're the world's second best mid laner. The last one who tried to prove he was the world's best jungler at All-Star, Ming Kai, didn't even get a ticket to this Worlds. Fist is nerfing our NXG on purpose, right? Early tower damage up and dragon aggro nerfed. The synchronized jungle and minion spawns are the biggest change. Early invasions are riskier now. I miss JM's guides. If he weren't busy, he'd have a patch guide out by now. Even if he had, releasing it now would be aiding the enemy. Online chatter didn't change the 3 LPL teams' plans. 2 days of closed training passed quickly. After the LPL released expedition photos of the 3 teams, NXG and IG, having arranged to travel together, headed to Mogul Airport to fly to California, host city for Worlds. Royal Never Give Up, for their own reasons, perhaps to save money, declined the joint travel invitation and made separate arrangements. Chapter 208. I'm already researching the championship prize money. In the departure hall of Pudong Airport, about 20 of them sat in 2 neat rows, 2 or 3 to a seat. Song Yuan leaned toward his teammates, voice low and half serious. Hey, do you think everyone in America walks around with American-style swords? Xu Jing, distractedly scrolling his phone, glanced over like he was looking at an idiot. What, you think that's any weirder than foreigners asking if every Chinese person knows Kung Fu? Just saying, Song Yuan replied. When we land, Fist will have local staff pick us up. As long as we don't go into dangerous neighborhoods, we'll be fine. Pang Ran fanned out the list of precautions the club had handed them. As the team's support, he felt it was his job to be the safety net for this bunch of kids. Xiao Wu hugged his arms and muttered, America actually has high-risk areas. That's wild. The scary part is the advisory came from both the FBI and local police, Shi Zhenyu said. This is serious. While the others argued logistics, Xiao Shito had been staring at the stack of US dollars he'd just exchanged. Song Yuan poked his head over and teased, What, Xiao? You've been drooling over those bills since you got them. You in love? Don't you like them? Xiao Shito shot back without looking up. Well, yeah. Who wouldn't like greenbacks, especially at roughly a 1.7 exchange rate? He brightened. Listen, if we win the championship and Fist pays us in dollars, I could use part of the prize for a giveaway on my stream. It'd be like sharing the glory with the fans. Song Yuan blinked. Pang Ran's eyes nearly popped out. Xu Jing grinned. Nice, so you won't hog all the glory for yourself. You could even turn prize money into public goods, Wu Qichang added with mock reverence. I always wanted a championship skin, but I didn't expect Xiao Shito to be planning his giveaway already. Their logistics manager, Wang, who'd been quietly listening from a few seats behind, finally couldn't help but laugh. Great idea, Xiao Shito, but don't carry too much cash, especially at night. Don't let people know you're walking around with thousands of dollars. In some places, valuables belong in the hotel safe. Flashing cash is asking for trouble, he warned. Also, if anyone gets separated, stay alert. Make sure you're not alone. Have at least one teammate nearby. And for the love of God, don't accept food or drinks from strangers, he added. Recreational marijuana is legal in California. Don't mess around. And avoid sensitive topics like race, gender, religion. Different place, different rules. Wang kept listing street scams, charity scams, fortune-telling cons, until Xu Jing interrupted with a snort. Wang Ge, you don't know it, but when it comes to scams, our servers way rougher than North America's. I mean, we've seen everything. Dice games from childhood, people digging for valuables at funerals, wealthy women with weird air hunting schemes, even one-day Ferrari winners, Xu Jing said with a laugh. Pangran seized the chance to jab his friend's old wound. Remember last year when someone got lured into an office by a high-paying job? Your sister had to storm up to the 18th floor with a cleaver to drag him out. Xu Jing, who'd been sipping water, spat it across the airport floor. His ears turned bright red. "Old Pang, don't you dare bring that up!" He scrambled for tissues, glaring at Pangran. Even half a year later, the memory of sobbing and clinging to his sister's leg in public still mortified him. Ever since, it had been the bottom lane duo's favorite joke. Now Pangran's eyes flashed mischievously. "Really? Want me to call your sister to save you again?" "It's a deal. Double the happiness," Pangran teased. "I've wanted to swap ADs for ages. I don't ask for much. Just guang guang," Xu Jing shot back. "Ah!" Xu Jing made a grab for Pangran's neck. The banter went on until the boarding announcement cut them off. For the rest of the wait, the team heard Xu Jing's non-stop complaints. "I gave you the cannon minion. I took the bullets for you. I even sacrificed myself when we were ganked." All the usual bottom lane gripes. On the plane, the cabin hummed with life. Families adjusting kids, business travelers bent over laptops, a handful of blonde, blue-eyed tourists flipping through Chinese travel guides with dreamy smiles. The air smelled like a mix of snacks and airline meals. "We'll be in the air about 11 hours to Los Angeles. If anything comes up, let me know," Wang said before everyone settled in. Xiao Shito squeaked in surprise at the reminder. Shi Zhenyu pointed to their right. Xu Jing and Song Yuan had somehow struck up a conversation with the American travelers sitting next to them. They discovered the other party liked esports too and launched into an animated chat that looked set to last the whole flight. Wang just smiled and let them be. More talking now might mean they'd sleep on the way and adjust better. The club had prepared neck pillows, earplugs, eye masks, blankets, and even loaded laptops with movies to kill time. Still, the 11-hour flight dragged. Around 3 or 4 in the morning, the drowsiness finally hit the team. These guys were night owls by habit, so their usual routines left them awake later than ordinary passengers, and none of them could sleep comfortably on a plane. Wear your masks and earplugs, recline your seat a bit, use the pillows and blankets. If you can't sleep, get up and move every 2 hours, Shi Zhenyu advised. Try to adjust to the time difference while you're up. Time did what it always does. The plane landed on schedule. They touched down at LAX at 10:07 p.m. local time. When the boarding ramp lowered, the cool, salty West Coast breeze rolled in, carrying the glow of far-off highway lights. "Collect your carry-ons, and we'll get your luggage at the exit," Wang said. "Don't rush. Stretch out first." He'd underestimated 17 and 18-year-olds' boundless energy. As soon as their feet hit the tarmac, Song Yuan and Xu Jing did a dryland somersault and whooped, "Woohoo! We're in America!" They'd planned the stunt to mark their first overseas tournament, but the chill wind quickly broke their theatrical moment. "Brr, it's freezing." Xu Jing shivered. "Is September always this cold in LA?" Pangran dug a team jacket out of his bag and flung it at them. "Maybe that climate info was in the checklist you ignored?" Los Angeles nights average around 17 degrees Celsius in September, can dip to 13 or 14, Shi Zhenyu said, fully prepared and wearing a jacket. "Bring a suit, jacket, or windbreaker." Luckily, a female staff member traveling with them had brought extra jackets. 10 minutes later, at the hotel entrance, a bus with the NXG team logo rolled up and the 5 players gaped. A FIST staffer stepped out and greeted them with a smile. "Hello, NXG. Welcome to California." Wang introduced everyone. "This is Jason. He's a FIST staff member in charge of the Chinese market. He'll be handling things related to the tournament while you're here." Jason smiled and said, "If you need anything, find me." As they climbed aboard, Songwan tugged on Wang's sleeve. "Wang Ge, did Mingge's influence get us a team bus in North America?" Wang shrugged and explained, "Not exactly. Manager Chen arrived early and contacted a local rental company. They'd booked us a minivan, but the owner turned out to be a fan of Mingge's videos and upgraded us to this bus for free. It made the ride from the standard Hollywood hotel to the venue much more comfortable." "Feels like GTA," someone joked. Start with a nice vehicle and everything else will fall into place, another replied. The bus sliced through nighttime LA, a world of dim streetlights and wide, empty roads, a scene that could have come straight out of a film. The 40-kilometer trip from the airport to the hotel took only 20 minutes. At the hotel entrance, as the NXG crew stepped off, they ran into another team getting out of a van. SSO? Someone muttered in surprise. Chapter 209. I hope they don't get too excited. After Samsung, the nation's pride, stepped in as sponsor, the MVP team that had been teetering on the brink of collapse overnight turned into something else entirely. Overdue salaries were cleared, their trip to the S3 World Championship was upgraded to a private jet, and they arrived in Los Angeles 10 days early with a luxury hotel booked to help them adapt to the American environment and fine-tune their rhythm. When they stepped into the hotel lobby, a FIST staff member who'd been arranged to meet them was guiding their check-in. Then, from beyond the lobby doors, voices drifted in. It's the NXG Club. Hongmi's face went serious. The rest of the team looked up at the jungler's soft exclamation. Dandy, whose eyes were as sharp as a jungler's instincts, immediately fixed on them. I didn't expect we'd be staying in the same hotel. No one had expected the coincidence. Running into the team their club considered the strongest in the tournament. Hongmi leaned against the front desk in his Samsung jacket and watched the NXG players organizing their luggage by the door. He talked quietly, but everyone could hear. The one in front is their top laner, Norsha, not flashy in raw mechanics or lane pressure, but his champion pool is enormous. He can pull out both conventional and weird picks, which makes him a nightmare during the drafting phase. What's really impressive is his ability to keep calm and farm under pressure. When he gets an advantage, his synergy with the team is super precise. He plays a bit like Hung Suk, the chubby mouse-faced player with round glasses said, scanning for someone else and then turning to the substitute top laner. A hexagonal top laner model, but our guy's hexagon stats are generally a bit lower, haha. Call him Hung Suk Gi, Mata snapped, irritated, regretting he didn't have a disciplinary tool handy. And don't interrupt, listen to Song Yonggi's analysis. Hongmi continued, then they're mid and jungler. Mid laner Yihan's stats aren't flashy on paper, but don't underestimate him. He's excellent at roaming, creative plays, and locking down priority kills. Their jungler Stone is an all-rounder, arguably the strongest individual among the five. Comfortable on Lee Sin, Jarvan 4, he's the kind of player who can take over a game. Hongmi knew NXG inside and out. He wasn't just MVP's top laner, he also did analysis for the team. In this timeline, thanks to their dominant LPL spring run and Jiang Ming's all-star performances, NXG had become, in the eyes of other regions, the World Championship final boss. It wasn't just results. NXG's image and momentum had turned them into the team everyone feared. Seems like NXG has no real weak points, Hongmi said. Maybe they just don't like to make flashy individual plays. Isn't NXG supposed to be cash-strapped? How did JM get them funded? The chubby guy asked, curious. He remembered when MVP had been in financial trouble and how pleasant it had felt that his own club had been set up with a luxury hotel. Now, he felt like a clown. Mata answered without picking on him. NXG's results attracted a lot of sponsors. Big firms like Suning were interested. With good sponsorship and management, a club like that won't lack money. The NXG players had noticed the SSO squad looking at them. Song Yuan nudged Xu Jing. That's OGN's first seed, right? Want to go say hi? Let's go. Xu Jing, the social butterfly, was already moving, but Pang Ran held him back. Not tonight. Mingge told us to sleep early. There's training later. All right. Xu Jing was disappointed. As a collector, he wanted contact info and photos, but the journey had tired them all. The Samsung delegation checked in, and the leaders of both clubs exchanged polite nods before leaving. Players each took their assigned rooms. Song Yuan, usually a loner, found himself rooming with team captain Wang Wang. No small talk. Everyone fell into bed and into a deep sleep after a quick wash. Jiang Ming and Lin Jingyi did not travel with the players. It wasn't a romantic private getaway. Fist had invited them to visit the company's newly built headquarters before the competition. The invitation had two purposes: to thank JM for his role in promoting League of Legends that year, and to have him provide player feedback as a representative for the creation of next season's maps. The real focus was the latter. Before Tencent took full control, Fist had leaned on the data scene to boost visibility. After Tencent's full acquisition, the game exploded. Player numbers jumped, monthly actives rose, daily concurrency exploded. League of Legends became the world's #1 online game virtually overnight. Now Fist wanted to shed Dade's shadow and design content that was unmistakably League. Getting input from Jiang Ming, a top player with tremendous influence and also the owner of NXG Club, was valuable. He represented a useful bridge between pro players, commercial partners, and the wider player base. At Fist's headquarters in West LA, the Element LA office park, they were greeted by a bearded staffer wearing a Fist badge. "Hello, my dear Jiang. I'm Mike. Welcome to our new headquarters." He shook Jiang Ming's hand and explained that Tryndamere and Rise were supposed to be there, but had an urgent Asian meeting. "Is it about the Asian Games?" Jiang Ming asked casually. Lin Jingyi, careful about physical contact, gave a polite handshake instead of a more enthusiastic hug. Meek brightened. "Incheon is pushing to make League of Legends an exhibition event at the Asian Games. There are still obstacles, but if China supports it, I think it'll go through." "Then it will succeed," Jiang Ming said. They toured the space. The headquarters occupied 280,000 square feet and had industrial touches, high timber truss ceilings, and sawtooth skylights. A giant Annie and Tibbers statue stood at the entrance, a charming anecdote since Annie was reportedly the CEO's daughter's name. Upstairs, corridors of glass and sunlight opened into the offices, called collaboration spaces, and meeting rooms named after champions. The designer's area was Jinx's lab, the gym was V's gym. The company's culture showed everywhere. "This is our lounge, the Bilgewater Brewery," Mike said proudly, showing them a themed bar where employees relaxed over coffee or craft beer. Next to it was an atrium with drought-resistant plants, a calm, pleasant place. "Now for today's main event," Mike said mysteriously. "I guarantee you'll be amazed." Jiang Ming braced himself. When a company invites you to preview an unreleased map, everyone expects a big reaction. He'd have to play along. They went to the closed meeting for feedback on the new map. The visit, the staged surprise, the earnest listening. It was all part of a broader effort to standardize and commercialize esports, with Jiang Ming as an indispensable figure, promoter, top player, and club owner. If they didn't make good use of someone like him, it would be a wasted opportunity. 10 quiet days later, the opening ceremony for the 2013 League of Legends Global Finals arrived. At 8 a.m. in Los Angeles, 10 minutes past midnight in China, Mo Zai, who had been forced to stay behind in China and was seething about it, uploaded NXG Club's pre-tournament departure video that his boss had prepared. Modest at home, going all out for the World Championship, Mo Zai said as he uploaded the clip. The boss really is still a young man. Unlike teams that released ordinary training photos or lifestyle shots, NXG had always leaned into entertainment value and theatricality. Their pre-tournament content was another level. As the video went live, one line flashed as the sign-off. "I hope players from other regions don't get too excited when they see this." Chapter 210, NXG Rescue Team. As the World Championship approached, fans across regions were alternately excited and on edge, excited for the upcoming clashes, anxious about the slow-burning countdown. Tonight, though, those who had planned an all-nighter at the Internet Cafe to secure seats for tomorrow's opening ceremony got a surprise. In C111's VIP area, Guo Lin, cigarette smoldering between two fingers, was boasting to a few buddies. He patted his shoulder and held up a red banner. "Xiao Duan, the support from NXG Black, is my sworn brother. He used to hang out in this very private room before going pro. He's my personal support. Look, NXG Black and NXG First Team aren't in the Worlds this year, but NXG First Team made it. I got us a private room so we can watch together and form an offline cheering squad. Tomorrow, we go crazy for them. Get hyped." His friends, sitting there with panda eyes from 3 nights of gaming, replied weakly, "Brother Guo, it's not that we don't want to. We just can't stay up any longer." 3 nights, man. 3 nights straight. Besides, NXG's already in the quarterfinals. They skipped the group stage. If we want to watch the opening ceremony, we can get here early tomorrow. It'll be evening in the US then. Guolin's face heated. He'd booked the all-nighter and completely mixed up the schedule. He couldn't afford to lose face, so he covered for himself. "Oh, I was worried the cafe would be packed later, and we wouldn't get a good spot," he said, spreading the banner. "Xiao Shui, help hang this up. We'll take a photo later. Private Room 111 is our World Championship base for the next half-month. Private rooms had 5 PCs and cost 300 to 400 yuan a day. 2 weeks would be about 5,000. To him, it was pocket change, like collecting rent. What mattered was the atmosphere. A room full of people sharing the game. "Oh ho! Ha!" They were pinning the banner when laughter burst out across the room. Guolin glared, realizing it came from his best friend. "Old Kong, don't laugh so loud at porn. Even a private room isn't that private. Who said I was watching porn?" Kong Lasong snapped, then popped his head out. "Are you slandering me for no reason? You did get reported the other day at Shinshin Internet Cafe by a kid." Guolin began. Kong Lasong lunged at him faster than anyone could react, dragged him off the sofa, and hissed in his ear, "Didn't we agree that if I gave you my Timo figure, we'd let that slide?" Guolin grinned. "Oh, right, I forgot. I really did. I was just curious what you were laughing at, sitting there with your back to everyone." Kong slapped his forehead. "Dude, it's a new NXG video. It's hilarious." The NXG club account posted a video. Guolin blinked. He'd followed NXG because of Xiao Duan, back when he paid Xiao Duan to carry him in ranked games. Having a challenger support made AD carry so much easier, and he'd wanted to help Xiao Duan escape his suffocating family situation. Over time, he'd stuck with NXG, impressed by the club's strength and eccentric style. He didn't follow just because JM's tutorial vids taught him what kiting was and how to last hit. He genuinely liked their content. Now, seeing a notification from NXG's account, he cursed softly for missing it earlier. "You didn't share it right away?" he accused Kong. "My bad. Too funny. You've got to watch." The others in the room snapped awake at the mention of a new NXG clip. NXG's videos had a reputation for high production value and absurd humor. Kong's laughter had them curious. On NXG's homepage were several pinned shorts under the blue and white logo. The titles jumped out: World Championship NXG Special Forces 123's Hack, S3 NXG Rescue Team 12 for. Guolin clicked the first video. "Run, JM, run. That devil's coming." The video opened with a bang. A 6-legged mecha with oversized crab claws stomped across the screen, tiny figures scattering before it. The crab was green and red, LPL stamped on its shoulder, and the robot's head was a grinning screenshot of Jiang Ming's livestream face. A modulated, amplified laugh bellowed from the mecha as its claws clicked and clacked, chasing the little avatars. Above those avatars floated the logos of rival LPL teams. "It's fine, my mid-Zed counters Urgot," read the chat overlay. The scene flipped. Li Xianghei's comically oversized head was pasted on a small shuriken-wielding figure. He faced off with a button that looked like a summoner's device. "Come on, brother JM, let's duel mid." A flash, and another mecha boxed in the shuriken figure, triggering the cartoonish transformation invincibility frame. "The blue and white shuriken mecha," the captions crowed, engraved with the OGN logo, referencing the old Faker JM matchup. Fans remembered that stream where JM played mid-Urgot and clashed with a tanky opponent, a match that had sparked heated comparisons between JM and Faker. The live chat quipped and joked, "Trade," right as Urgot extended a claw, plucked Faker's caricature, and dragged him under tower fire, spun him, and launched him across the map. Bullet comments exploded. "High energy ahead." Most hilarious part. Then the scene flipped again. Inside the crab mecha's cockpit, an avatar swapped. Now it was Zhu Jing, NXG First Team's AD, grinning. "Mingy stepped out for a sec. I'll fill in. Watch me do a 6-0 crab and triple kill," he crowed. "Oh man, top, mid, and jungle all ganking me alone. That's not fair," the chat cried in mock outrage. Guolin laughed out loud. He'd missed the latter half of that stream. The much-discussed OGN gank against the LPL was actually a setup, and the rampaging crab plays at the end were thanks to the AD stepping in. He clicked on the second video. This one shifted tones. Dark thunderclouds rolled over a snow-capped peak, and at its summit glittered the 2013 Summoner's Cup. Tiny figures climbed the slope. 2 of them carried a stretcher bearing a bruised, battered Uzi. "No, how am I supposed to play with you two?" Uzi whined. "Kill me already. One mid, one top. Just end me. It's okay, one of the figures, Jiang Ming, replied. Old Jiang got us the third World Championship ticket. We'll take you with us. Ahead, they spotted a hut labeled All-Star 2013 World Championship Takeoff Point. PDD's iconic cackle rang out. The hut's original inhabitants, GPL, LCS, OGN, were tossed out as Jiang Ming and PDD cheerfully claimed it. Inside, a TV blared S3 World Championship tickets confirmed, taking off, while music, champagne, and a warm fire welcomed them. Meanwhile, PDD had tied Uzi to a stretcher outside and then conveniently forgotten him. Help, hey, where are you? Uzi called from the snow while the two lounged inside. PDD climbed to a second-floor bed and the stairs gave way under his weight. The hut lurched toward the cliff's edge. The support beams snapped. Outside, Uzi tried to hop forward as the stretcher dragged him, face down, through enemy forces like a snowplow. Jiang Ming deployed a parachute and steered the hut as it slid down, smashing other regional teams in its path. The captions cracked jokes. Number 1 controls direction, Number 2 provides weight, Number 3 sweeps the path. In the internet cafe, laughter erupted from C111 and spread like wildfire. People paused their ranked queues, others canceled games to watch. NXG's Special Forces clip was already fun, riffing on livestream banter and ranked plays, but Rescue Team set off heated reactions. Its latter half showed a glider-towed hut, Uzi on a stretcher behind it, plowing through every other region without slowing down. The imagery read like a deliberate taunt. You aren't even an obstacle for us. OGN viewers felt stung. EU and NA audiences watched delightedly and hopped onto LPL forums seeking explanations. In the era of S3, esports had never seen pre-match antics like this. The clips spread across servers and streams, and the NXG Rescue Team ran wild through the fandom. Chapter 211, World Championship, Timo and Slaughter. As the clock at the Los Angeles Staples Center edged toward the opening, the Pacific breeze carried a surge of esports excitement. In China, the hour hand had quietly slipped past midnight. Tens of millions of Chinese summoners greeted the S3 League of Legends Global Finals opening ceremony in the dim early morning light. Internet cafes were packed, many machines occupied since the night before, as pairs of league players guarded their spots. Some savvy owners had set up World Championship promotions. Customers who topped up during the finals, got a godlike in ranked, or scored a pentakill could win prizes. Free viewing areas were set up in the core zones to keep people in place. Once someone left, another user instantly took their machine. Finally, it's here. World Championship. I want to watch NXG crush everyone. Be rational, NXG fans. IG and Royal Club need to step up too. Let's try to avoid internal fights in the quarters and sweep the semis, okay? I just want to know if Jiang Ming and the others will pull something crazy at the opening ceremony. Haha, don't count on it. Fist's opening ceremony and the group stage venue aren't the same. NXG isn't even playing in the group stage. Wrong. Today's group stage opener is here. Awesome. On streaming platforms like TGA and YY, even with an hour still on the countdown, bullet chats exploded as fans bantered and joked. Then at 5 p.m. sharp, the S3 Global Finals opening ceremony officially began. Staples Center, home of the Lakers, held over 20,000 fans in a roaring international crowd. In the center of the arena, a circular stage rose up, and the Summoner's Cup gleamed under the lights, silently waiting to crown a new champion. The giant screen opposite the audience flickered blue, then began replaying scenes from past matches. NXG, SSO, C9, classic moments flashing by. The Crystal League band took the stage, instruments in hand, and under the conductor's sweep, launched into the season's theme, Hybrid Worlds, a grand instrumental that set the tone. As the music swelled, the montage sped up, showing memorable plays from each team. No lyrics, no overblown theatrics, just music, images, and the cup at center stage. Then the stage brightened. Two figures appeared within crystal pillars, followed by a rapid DJ solo. The camera pulled back, giving the live stream audience a full view of the venue. Damn, it's packed. It's just an opening ceremony and one best of one. What's with all these people? You forget, League's registered players number in the hundreds of millions. Tens of thousands at a venue is nothing. The promotional animation cut in. A fanciful short of animated characters in team uniforms climbing toward the Summoner's Cup. Chat roasted the outsourced animation. Heh, where did Fist hire this team? Not as good as Zhongming Studios promos. Characters climbing the cup like it's Targon Peak, so generic. First time the regular army loses to guerrillas, huh? Have you even watched anything? Found the paid trolls, don't fight me for it. My sweeping leg JPG. Sorry, I already tripped my comrade and charged the target. The 3-minute animation ended. The platform holding the cup dimmed, and beneath the giant screen, 2 formally dressed hosts stepped into the spotlight. Welcome to the 2013 League of Legends Global Finals. This is the Los Angeles Staples Center, where we're about to ignite this summer's esports fever. Starting with today's opening match, 20 days from now, we'll return here for the grand final. Now, please welcome the 2 teams for today's first battle. First to the stage, the strong team from the LPL, Team IG. In IG's team lounge, Zhongming watched the stage feed and muttered to himself. The opening ceremony felt oddly spare. No traditional team walk-on or player introductions, just the promo reel and music. In the S3 era, when the event team was still finding its footing, Riot's approach to production was often bold and improvisational. The packed venue and stripped-down ceremony stunned him, but he reminded himself that in the original timeline today hadn't even had these added elements. The All-Star had probably influenced the format. "How confident are you about beating TSM?" someone asked. Zhongming looked up at the IG roster. He hadn't planned to be there. Xiaowang Tongji had knocked on his door early, insisting he come along. "Hard to say. Those TSM scrims looked brutal," PDD said, rubbing his shiny head. He didn't brag, just complained. "Those NA old foxes scrim like they've got turbochargers, just charging straight in like a bunch of reckless men." "Heh, Laozhang, since you're here, lend us some ideas?" one teammate teased. Xiaoyan gave a quiet thumbs up. As the host region, TSM being scheduled for the opening match made sense. North America hadn't yet shown their consistent top finishes at the time, but IG's scrim record against them looked worrying, more losses than wins. Jiangming shook his head. "I'm just here to watch. As long as you don't mess up the opener, beating TSM should be easy." Ideas? TSM's scrim tactics were already known to IG. Jiangming couldn't say outright. They play fierce scrims, but choke in official matches, so he kept quiet. Back at the LPL commentary desk in China, Miller, Bella, and Xiao Xiao, 3 commentators chosen by vote, sat in the domestic studio. Bella took center, flanked by Xiao Xiao and Miller. They would stay in China for the group stage before heading to the Galen Center in LA for offline commentary. When the camera showed the 2 teams entering, Miller took control. "We see Team TSM, second seed from LCS.NA, taking the stage first on the right. They're very strong." Miller's thoughts strayed. With a retired pro and a popular host beside him, his opinions were overshadowed. He'd worked hard over the summer split, but still couldn't match their credentials. Maybe he could contact Jiangming after the group stage, he thought, when Bella's soft exclamation snapped him back. "Why is Jiangming in IG's lounge?" The broadcast camera had cut to the corridor outside IG's lounge. The sight of Jiangming in IG's training room sent the bullet chat into chaos. "NXG's boss defected. Is he here to give IG pointers? It's the region's opening match after all." "Nice. Today's match is in the bag. I'm gonna work." "Hold on. Don't get carried away. The ones playing on stage are IG, not Jiangming's NXG. How could a team owner from another club share tactics?" "This is cheating. Report LPL. How can NXG's coach appear in IG's room?" Are the last 2 comments trolls, or did someone sneaking into the Chinese stream push them? Fang Kuailong chuckled dryly on air. A veteran who'd retired from IG, he knew the teams had been staying and scrimming together for over 10 days. Before the group stage started, Jiangming and NXG were almost inseparable from IG. They scrimmed a ton. My guess? Jiangming's here to get a feel for the other teams through IG. Most of the LPL viewers accepted that. There's a common mindset. When facing outsiders, domestically, you unite. Helping each other eliminate foreign opponents is the priority. Internal squabblers don't usually fare well. At the match venue, Jiangming didn't know that their brief corridor shot had already been broadcast across the S3 streams by Riot's MVP cameraman. Meanwhile, the teams were in the pick and ban phase. In the booth, Gorilla, the support, shook his head, looking relaxed. He even toyed with a bold idea aloud. "Hey guys, did you decide whether to go with the plan I mentioned on the way here?" "Haha, Are we seriously picking that champion in a pro match? That'd tank our win rate, Dyrus warned. But his teammates were overconfident. No way, Dyrus. It's just the difference between a 100% win rate and 99%, one joked. They couldn't beat us in scrims once. The LPL isn't that strong, only NXG is any good. Come on, NXG would also lose to us. Should have sent more NA pros to the All-Star. We could have had an extra spot. Seeing Dyrus still unsure, the ADC chimed in, "Trust us, Dyrus. Today'll be a slaughter. If you won't play that champ, I'll use it in the bottom lane." Wild Turtle grinned. He'd studied LPL match videos and scrim footage. He knew IG's bottom lane tendencies. He was confident. Oh ho ho. What, Teemo? Gorilla picked Teemo in the third slot. Wow. The arena went insane. 20,000 people erupted. Even non-TSM fans cheered. Fans holding Pick Teemo signs screamed themselves hoarse. TSM's pre-match Twitter promise to pick a surprise champion had come true. Teemo was locked in. Could Gorilla's promised slaughter be far behind? He wasn't one to bluff. At 16 minutes, the scoreboard on the big screen told the story. A brutal 17-1 kill score. This match had turned into a massacre. Chapter 212, The Shock Brought to the World by the Involuted LPL. September 16, 2013, an unforgettable day for North American fans. A crushing, almost avoidable massacre unfolded at the Staples Center. For many viewers who'd never paid much attention to the LPL, perceptions were shattered. The gap between professional teams could be as obscene as running into a Smurf in solo queue. By 16 minutes, IG's top, mid, and jungler had already combined for 11 kills. Mid and jungle were both sitting at 0-4. The top laner, who'd picked Teemo, died less often and only had 3 deaths. Gorilla Captain hadn't been entirely wrong. Kid's individual mechanics in the bot lane were mediocre by pro standards. His steadiness owed a lot to Jiang Ming's intensive pre-tournament training for the lane. But that didn't matter. If the enemy bot lane drafted Teemo, no amount of ganking would change how Varus and Zyra performed in team fights. The crowd at Staples went from ecstatic to pale. The sight of Teemo in the draft felt like falling from heaven to hell. This was IG, the LPL's second seed? Could there really be such a gulf in skill? 15 minutes in, the gold lead approached 7,000. It wasn't entirely TSM's fault. The patch notes that Fist released before Worlds were abstract. Their intent was to narrow the gap between Jiang Ming's NXG and other teams, but with foresight and a coaching staff that had rapidly matured, NXG adapted far faster than anyone expected. Even half of that understanding was enough to make them utterly superior to teams that hadn't internalized the changes, and IG had revealed even their scrim tactics honestly. If Xiaoyan, IG's head coach, didn't seize that advantage, he wouldn't deserve the favorable draw. IG's slaughter continued. After mid-top and jungle exploded, Gorilla Captain's Teemo in the bot lane suffered exactly as predicted. The early game focus and targeted aggression IG banked on didn't materialize the way TSM hoped. When the first mid-turret fell, the Jarvan 4 Ahri duo took command of the map. At 17 minutes, IG's mid and jungle rotated to bot. The moment Gorilla Captain flashed back to base and caught the pink heart, a new Teemo corpse appeared on the pro stage. Dragon Strike plus Demacian Standard, Jarvan faked the knockup, and when everyone braced for the follow-up on Teemo, he pivoted and isolated the support Thresh. Good thing not everyone can predict E to interrupt dashes like those freaks from NXG. Shadow muttered to himself as Thresh retreated with his AD to the fountain. Kills, towers, dragons, IG, tormented by NXG and scrims until their reactions became muscle memory, didn't hesitate. Even though Zitai, with his third ultimate ready, had ideas about diving Hecarim at TSM's second turret, Xiao Wu stopped him. The owner had given the manager absolute power, the manager had given the coach absolute power, and the coach had given Xiao Wu absolute command on the field. Any complaints? Go stand by the water cooler. Wang Laoban had just bought a few youngsters from NXG's academy anyway. Developing a second team early wasn't a bad idea. In the English commentary booth, watching IG play carefully instead of throwing away a 7,000 or 8,000 gold lead, the veteran commentator who'd covered S2 held his head and muttered, "This is impossible. This is illogical. This is not the IG I know." TSM looks like kindergarten in front of IG. Their top, mid, and jungler were blasted. PDD solo killed his way to the second turret. Dyrus can't handle him. Teemo gave us entertainment, sure, but that's all it was. Just entertainment. TSM paid the price for underestimating them. Haha, actually, even if they hadn't underestimated, TSM still wouldn't match IG. In this patch, poor Hecarim doesn't even clear camps properly. In the first 10 minutes, he's been counter-jungled 3 or 4 times during ganks. Mr. Jarvan4's halberd swings way too heavy. For every groan from the English booth, the LPL side smiled just as broadly. In the end, although Ztai's Ahri wasn't an instant burst mid, Teemo was so underleveled that when Ztai dashed in, a DFG plus a full combo shredded full health Teemo. At 24-11, IG's 5-man squad chose not to risk Baron and instead chased from red buff to high ground. After acing TSM, they pushed down the base in one sweep. The LPL crowd erupted. IG. That night, the League of Legends Global Finals hit a peak concurrent viewership of 27 million, surpassing the All-Star record. As Gorilla Captain had predicted before the match, the Teemo pick drew massive attention to the team, but the 26-3 kill score also fastened them to a pillar of shame. After that match, many foreign viewers who'd never bothered to follow the LPL before tunneled through the Great Firewall to domestic forums and were shocked to discover NXG's record. Undefeated through the spring split regular season and playoffs, only 3 losses in the summer split regular season, and a 5-point lead over second place. They asked if they were watching the same game. Holy crap, TSM is getting steamrolled. Offstage, PDD couldn't help but grumble. I thought they were terrifying in scrims and would be worse in an official match. Turns out scrims were their real strength. Erz's mid was solid today. Your synergy with Shadow hits about 80% of what Lao Zhang used to do, Ztai said weakly. Gorilla's Orianna didn't pressure me, and Shadow remembered a lot of their scrim habits. By the way, who's our last match, someone asked. SKT. Some North American fans left immediately after the opening match, stuffing TSM flags into backpacks or dumping them in trash. Being killed like bots on the world stage was too embarrassing. After IG versus TSM, SKT and Lemondogs took the Fist studio. Stream numbers dipped slightly, but held strong. Lemondogs had few fans, but SKT, summer champions, with Faker and Yulun's historic Duel of the Zeds, drew worldwide attention. Though SKT had briefly wobbled after Faker's health issues and nearly lost their regional qual spot, they squeaked in. But in the group stage opening, SKT disappointed Jiangming. Koma hadn't shown the mettle expected of a champion coach. Fist's patch had added a jungle camp, and SKT hadn't grasped its impact. Against Lemondogs, whether intentionally hiding strength or simply unaware, Benji played like it was the old patch, mindlessly giving up his jungle to protect mid and let Faker snowball, relying on a dual carry bottom to win. Under Jiangming's influence, Riot had already nerfed solo mid-carry potential twice numerically, while the new camp had increased the jungler's ability to carry. SKT's strategy was outdated. Still, against Lemondogs, it worked. A 29-minute stomp, 14,000 gold ahead. The third match, TSM versus GG, felt like the organizers protecting regional interest, an opening match for viewership, then a point-boosting matchup. TSM redeemed themselves a bit, beating GG in 35 minutes, 23-5. Gorilla Captain, bruised from his Teemo humiliation, chose Corki and netted 12 kills. But many viewers had already decided TSM was just stomping lesser teams and would fold against real competition. LD, freshly crushed by SKT, faced GG next and handed out another beating, 28 minutes, 25. LD's Spider Queen boasted an 11-5 scoreline, smacking TSM right after their win. It was a reminder, it's just a wild card, don't celebrate yet. The last match of the night, IG versus SKT, sent viewers surging back. SKT, having scrimmed against NXG, respected LPL's second seed and didn't underestimate them for a second. The North American audience expected a mid-lane showdown, Faker versus Ztai, both famed for mechanical prowess. Draft phase, IG on blue banning Weapon Thresh and Leona, Radiant Dawn. SKT banned Ahri, Syndra, and Leona. Lineups locked. Blue side IG, top Jace, jungle Kha'Zix, mid Orianna, bot Varus, and Zyra. Purple side SKT, top Kennen, jungle Jarvan4, mid Gragas, bot Caitlyn, and Nami. SKT's gone full Caitlyn fast push, the TGA studio laughed. Kha'Zix plus Jace is tailor-made to punish your Caitlyn. In this patch, jungle gold has increased, and Benji is a classic farming jungler. SKT can only half focus on the bot lane, Xiao Xiao said. The key is Kid. If his Varus doesn't collapse, SKT can't do much mid-game. Banning Leona thinking IG would draft dive, then picking Nami to prevent engages, Zyra completely shuts down SKT's plan. Is that Shadow's idea? Not exactly Shadow's original. After Fist's update, NXG tried Jungle Cox in various Smurf experiments. Facing IG's triple poke comp, SKT grew impatient. Benji tried an early level 2 gank mid to give Faker an edge. But Zitai had seen the level 2 mid gank strategy countless times against NXG and was prepared. During draft, Xiaoyan had arranged for Kha'Zix to swap camps with Jarvan 4, letting IG play the early game with open hands. IG's blue side comp didn't need early ganks, they could just farm. By 6 or 7 minutes, the jungle difference was obvious. Kha'Zix, 44 CS. Jarvan 4, 25 CS. Almost double the farm, and Kha'Zix hit 6 at the same time as the solo laners. Shadow's jungle farming was unusually strong, an insight Jiang Ming had discovered during joint training. For a long time, Shadow's top, mid, and jungle all demanded attention, and teammates would sometimes take jungle gold. Still, Shadow retained individual impact. Jiang Ming and NXG's coaches honed that into a specialized training regimen. With such a gap, IG controlled the early rhythm. At the 8-minute dragon fight, upgraded Kha'Zix and Jace dished devastating poke to the purple side, with Varus occasionally peppering from the back. SKT's health bars melted. "Retreat, we can't fight," Fuman Duo said, helpless as his teammates pulled back. Seconds later, a dragon wail sounded, and gold plus 190 blinked over IG's 5 members. Dragon secured. At 8.5 minutes, Faker showed his teeth. While Zitai's Orianna kept poking, Faker used his ultimate to send Orianna back to her turret. Benji, lurking, flashed EQ for a knockup, slammed full damage, then a C to give the valuable kill to Faker's Gragas. IG lost the mid-round. Jiang Ming, back at his hotel preparing to train his players, watched the broadcast and shook his head. Benji was still a farming jungler. No, almost a scavenger. The quirky Gragas tempo that had defined play in his previous life had become a constraint after Riot's patch changes. 20 seconds later, with Benji's flash burned in mid and still under level 6, Shadow's Kha'Zix ambushed the bot lane and helped Kid's Varus secure a double kill. Chapter 213, The Reversal of the Heavenly Dipper 2.0. Let's swap lanes. Zitai, don't even think about soloing Faker. As the push on the bottom lane tower gathered momentum, Xiao Wu didn't forget to warn Zitai in mid. Their jungler is glued to their mid. Don't go head-to-head with them. Zitai opened his mouth to point out that he had a jungler too, but the coaching staff's training over the last period had sunk in. A Kha'Zix and Orianna going one-on-one against a Gragas and Jarvan 4 mid-jungle duo was a losing proposition. Faker had already completed an Athene's Unholy Grail. He had better damage and sustain. The right call was for the bottom duo to rotate mid, while the support teamed up with top and jungle to snowball their gold lead. Alright, notice in the mid-game, after the dragon, both teams shifted focus. IG's jungler and support started pushing topside vision, while SKT's Jarvan 4 kept protective vision for the Gragas who rotated bottom. Bella pointed out the critical detail. It makes sense. Purple side's early and mid-game tempo has to rely on Gragas right now. As lanes rotated, Kennen in top, played by Pyke, didn't want to lose the tower gold and was caught by IG's jungler and support. The three of them dove him. At the same time, Jace solo pushed and destroyed the top outer tower. Benji tried to make a play in the bottom lane, but Zitai, aware of the opposing mid's mechanical edge, didn't overextend. He hit QWR in a quick practice sequence and cleared the minion wave under tower. Benji felt awkward. With no minions to bait under the turret, even if he and Nami could help Gragas lock down Orianna and secure a kill, Fist's enhanced laser damage would likely trade them back. "We have to gank," he gritted his teeth, ready to sacrifice himself to give Faker room to breathe. That instinct wasn't just professional. Ever since he'd first met Li Shanghe, a voice in his head had told him to protect the young man, and everything he wanted would follow. "Guangjin, you can rotate out of mid." Fu Manduo pinged the lane. If they were going to dive bottom, they had to consider the possibility of the enemy jungler and support collapsing mid after a top gank. I can't leave right now." A moment earlier, Jurang had been smirking. Varus had missed all his QE in a one-on-one mid-fight. Now his grin was gone. Zyra rooted him from behind, and Virus's the quickness plus a Kha'Zix leap cut him down. At 14 minutes, IG and SKT had traded a mid laner for an AD carry. "That wasn't worth it," someone shouted. "Igo, we can't play like this, Benji. Wake up!" The commentators in the OGN broadcast room were practically yelling, their voices rising in the excited, breathless way Korean casting often does. On the scoreboard it read 1-1, but with the AD in mid dead, the mid-outer tower was exposed. PDD's Jace, after pushing top, rotated mid. He arrived a split second later than Kha'Zix and Zira, but in time, the four of them tore through SKT's tower before reinforcements could arrive. Korean viewers erupted in anger and disbelief. "Siba, what are SKT doing? Where's their macro? Didn't they watch the videos JM posted? We can research 5,000 years of history, so why can't we figure out basic macro? What's the point of zeroing Orianna if you hand the opponent towers and map control? I told you before the game, Benji's playstyle is flawed. With more jungle gold, designers want junglers to also carry late. Benji only knows how to babysit mid." The reality was plain. Jace, Kha'Zix, Orianna, and Varus formed a four-core composition. Even if SKT's Orianna had been targeted to zero too early, the three outer towers and the early dragon gold meant Ztai's Orianna wasn't far behind Gragas in development. On the purple side in the player booth, Faker frowned, feeling a twinge of impotence. It wasn't that he couldn't outplay any single blue side opponent. Jace, Kha'Zix, he had answers for each one in isolation. The problem was the towers falling too quickly, the map collapsing. Their vision over the jungle, the protection offered by outer turrets, all of that was becoming a severe liability. And then there was the poke. Boom, swish, whoosh. At 16 minutes, sound effects overlapped as long-range skill shots and ultimates intersected. IG, on the blue side, had drafted an oppressive lineup. Jace's long-ranged poke, Kha'Zix's evolved spikes and burst, plus Virus and Zyra providing semi-core long-range suppression. When defending turrets, you couldn't avoid those tools without losing huge amounts of health. If your champions were low, the opponent simply grouped and pushed. Direct engages were risky too. Zyra's ulti for counter-engage, combined with Orianna's ball, meant that even if Jarvan 4 and Kennen leapt in, their team's engage could be countered, and the composition left disjointed. Faker stared into the river fog, frowning. The situation felt like training scrims against JM's squad, but there was no alternative. To win, even with slim odds, they had to go all out. Time marched forward. Even IG's 5 players acknowledged SKT's strength. Under the near-unavoidable pressure of poke, Gragas still found an opportunity with Jarvan 4 when Kid mispositioned, knocking back the enemy AD carry and forcing a counter-engage. If not for IG's large early lead in gold and damage, that counterattack might have been SKT's turning point. Regret rippled from the casting desk. No way, Faker tried his best. A 4-0 Gragas. If he dies once, it's over. The margin for error is completely different. As long as IG doesn't clump up and let Kennen ult all 5 of them, even if one player dies first, the remaining carries can end the game. IG has shown everyone a new take on this patch. Late-game carry responsibility is no longer just for lane champions. Kha'Zix shredded SKT's defenses. And congrats to Shadow, his first MVP since the summer split. Group Stage A finished its round robin, with IG taking first place at 2-0. Group B kicked off immediately, and what looked like a path cleared for FNC, the S1 champion from Europe, took a surprising turn. Team Vulcan, NA's 3rd seed, toppled FNC. What stunned viewers even more was that Vuel used a macro strategy identical to LPL's NXG from the summer split. In the opening match of Group B, blue side Vuel, top Renekton, jungle Vi, mid Orianna, bot Corki and Zyra. Purple side FNC, top Jace, jungle Elise, mid Syndra, bot Caitlyn and Sona. On paper, FNC's mid-jungle had stronger early combat tools and individual skill, but Vuel forced lane swaps. Corki and Zyra pressured Jace top, while Renekton rotated down to face Caitlyn and Sona. At level 1, Vuel's duo lane tricked Elise out of her red buff, stealing 2 small monsters and denying her the level 2 spike. To keep momentum, both carries and the support used a total of 6 slime. The quickness plays to dive Elise, finishing her off at the F4 camp. FNC fell apart. "Wakao, JM, you evil genius. I didn't expect Group B to hide these treasures," viewers cried. In the Royal Never Give Up team lounge, Waite watched Vuel's play with a pained look. They had thought being in Group B would save them from IG and SKT, but now FNC had been crushed in the opening match. Tabe's expression was equally grave. Vuel's smooth lane swap macro and jungle support synergy were a carbon copy of NXG. In China, show one or two moves and everyone can often tell where you learned them. At 14 minutes, FNC attempted to dive Vuel's Renekton under tower, but the top player stalled too long. Zyra rotated mid, and alongside Orianna destroyed the mid tower. This is how you play. Vuel's in-game voice lines were thunderous with celebration. Psycho Sid, I declare you my god. Ha ha ha, thanks to JM. He gave this to Vul, someone joked. Don't get cocky, Sid. We still have RNW and GMB in this group. If we want to qualify, we can't drop many points. FNC was bewildered by the swap macro. By 16 minutes, they were 3,500 gold behind. Elise's jungle pathing had been ruined so badly, she couldn't even build a spirit visage. She picked only a Sheen to eke out some utility, terrified of being useless in teamfights. The AD carry gap was worse. Varus already had a Bloodthirster and Berserker's Greaves. Caitlyn's Infinity Edge felt far away. Vol's AD carry, Zuna, the big bearded player who had switched roles from jungle to carry, looked spectacular. At 17 minutes, Varus baited FNC's top Jace into hammering him, then used the quickness and flashed to the other side of the wall before the opposing jungler could track the play. Chain of Corruption and Orianna's ultimate followed. FNC was wiped. 31 minutes later, the kill score was 13-5, and Varus's autos sealed Vuel's shock upset over FNC. North American fans celebrated. TSM had been crushed by IG, but now NA's third seed had taken a giant stride, toppling Europe's first seed. The S3 rules were paying off. Without automatic quarterfinal qualifications, surprises like this could happen. The second match of Group B drew less attention. GMB, Europe's second seed, dominated wildcard MSK, Philippines. That scoreline didn't impress anyone. It was expected against a weaker region. But less than 10 minutes after GMB's match ended, came the third match, Royal Never Give Up versus Vuel. Fans around the world tuned in to see whether Vuel's win over FNC was a fluke. At the start, RNG's bottom lane put undeniable pressure on Vuel. At 340, their 2v2 forced EZ to use barrier and recall. Top and mid lanes applied individual pressure too. But at 6 minutes, Vuel changed tempo and caught RNG off guard. Vuel's Ahri hit level 6 and used Ahri from Brush to ambush YT's Orianna. Spider-Man's Jarvan 4, originally trying to countergank, found Chuyu Sun fully committed behind Ahri. A purple shield blinked above Ahri's head. Whoa, stop it. Can Shen Chao stop this? Viewers asked. No, I can't find Shen's position. A 2v3 mid engaged then counterganked. RNG's mid and jungle were doomed. That might have been a single well-read play, but Vul didn't stop. After the kills, Vuel's mid-jungle and Shen rotated bot, forcing Yuzi's Caitlyn back then taking Dragon. Their duo lane recalled and rotated top, catching the minion wave. Kennen had pushed straight into their faces. The pace of the tournament had shifted. Teams were demonstrating that macro, map control, and coordinated rotations could overturn raw individual skill advantages. At Worlds, the patch didn't just reward laners, it encouraged creative macro play. And teams that adapted first were reaping the rewards.